There are so many different flavors of basic soldier in the lands between. Certainly that must mean it's an optimal build, right? Specifically, we'll be looking at the soldiers of God, Rick, the soldiers of Raya Lucaria, Arya, the soldiers of Radahn, the soldiers of Roy, Al, the soldiers of Mouse, Liam, and the soldiers of Mike, Ella. There are no spirit ashes for Volcano Manor. I guess Rykard ate them. Today we're going to recreate the Shattering War by dressing up as the knights of these respective factions and seeing who can beat the game the fastest. That means this big long run is actually 6 runs stitched together, end to end. Hot! So who's gonna win? And who's gonna lose? I've got the soldier fever, and I hope you've got it too. To watch these runs live, join us on Twitch. We're finding new ways to play Elden Ring all the time. Join the Patreon to support the channel. It's the best place to do it, and we have exclusive videos for you as well. And make sure that you like and subscribe. If you do, you're automatically signed up in the Army of Barbarians. It's not a real army, we just talk about Fortnite a lot. Now let's get started with one of the most heavily requested runs.
And the world screams, kiss me, son of God.
Okay, so let's talk about how this is going to work. We'll be breaking these down into sections to see how each unit functions in each section of the game, similar to how we did on the 4 Elements run. How long does it take each run to get set up? How long does it take for each run to reach the capital? How long does it take each run to beat the Elden Beast? And how long does it take each run to clear out the rest of the remembrances? First up is the Soldiers of God, Rick. The vanilla ice cream, cheese pizza, I like adventures and the office as my Tinder bio, soldiers. They use swords, they use crossbows, sometimes they use shields or war picks, but we're gonna model our knight this run after the legendary Soldier of God, Rick himself. That means the Lord Sorn's greatsword and like nothing else? The simplicity might seem like a weakness. I think it might actually end up working out in Rick's favor. They won't have anything fancy, but if they just have to make the sword heavy, crank strength to make it work, we're gonna have a ton of extra stats for absurdly high levels of vigor and endurance. I haven't crunched the numbers, but we might even be able to hit light load. We're starting off dropping into Limgrave, and while we don't have to farm the sword, we will have to farm every piece of the armor. These things have like a 2% drop rate, so I'm starting with the first soldier I see for the most attempts.
He is the one.
First try? Oh my god, we're blessed. Nothing bad will ever happen to us again. Anyway, we go get the horse, and then we walk down to the sword. Let's just kill the guard so it doesn't hit us while we open the chest. Oh, 1.5% drop chance. We got 2 pieces from 3 soldiers. We did hit another soldier on the way here. Then the Lord Sorn's greatsword is just in a chest, the weapon of the Soldier of God, Rick himself. But we also get the Lord Sorn's straight sword, like a second later. What is the drop rate? Oh my god. It helps that this camp is full to bursting with Godrick goons, and we're planning to use the basic soldier armor rather than the knight armor. For the other runs, we'll be a knight. This time we're just a soldier, because I know y'all want to see a Soldier of God Rick run, and I want to deliver. We get the gloves at a more reasonable amount of time, around 10 minutes into the farm. Now we just need some head. Google Soldier of God Rick gets head from his fellow soldiers on your work computer to get the official drop rate. It's important to tickle one soldier at a time. If you get the whole squad after you, it turns into a bit of a Deacons of the Deep situation, and we're still level 1 with level 1 vigor. That's not going to be great. It actually did go fine the one time that it happened, but that's because nothing bad will ever happen to a Soldier of God. While we farm away, let's talk about what makes this basic run a little special. 1, it will have the lightest armor. I mentioned we're using the soldier set instead of the knight set for this run. Lower equip load won't really matter. It's not going to put us into light load, and the other runs will be getting the medium load equipment pretty fast anyway. It's just a weakness for this one. 2, the Lord Sorn's greatsword is kind of a funky greatsword. It has the worst greatsword damage other than greatswords with bleed like the Flamberg, which makes up for that lower scaling with bleed, obviously. However, it adds in a 10% bonus to the critical hit damage, meaning this is kind of a dagger with the length and stance pressure of a greatsword. Kinda neat. The hat takes about 30 minutes to drop, kind of making up for how fast everything else dropped. Soldier of God giveth, Soldier of God taketh away. We're not doing this run by ourselves though. We'll run up to the western Storm Hill by these jellyfish graves to grab these Soldiers of God Rick spirit ashes. then Box Ronnie for the bell with which to summon them. This is the most it's just two guys Spirit Ash you can have.
Just two guys and we're having a good time.
We buy Stamp from Bernie so we can use Stamp on our sword that already stamps, then save Alex from a hole because he's in trouble in Limgrave. And if there's something strange in the Limgrave neighborhood, who you gonna call? Nefeli. But if she's busy, call Rick. Speaking of, Mr. Height is saying he's the rightful lord of Limgrave? I think not. People want me to kill him for the extra golden seed every time, and normally I don't because it takes time out of the run, but it feels right this time. Dude put Sacred Order on the Erd Steel Dagger. Not looking forward to that secret starting class. Now imagine Soldier of God, Rick in Fort Height. Then we'll fight the Fort Knight, who's just another Godrick Knight with Bloody Slash. We fought like 30 of you already farming. This is not a new challenge. Warp to the Dragon Barrow and boogie woogie woogie into Fort Pharoth, grab everything and get out without getting ratted. And it was close.
What just happened here was a fucking miracle.
With Bloody Slash from the Fort Knight, we're able to carve up the Sleepy Dragon for a big load of early runes, and I think y'all know I love me some Vigor. Oh, another difference between this and the other runs, we farmed in Limgrave, which means we got Limgrave runes while looking for the armor. It's definitely not going to end up being a huge difference, but the other enemies in other runs are definitely more valuable. We'll talk about how that balances out when we get to those. In the interest of keeping things fair, every run is going to max out their upgrades as early as possible. So off to Lernia. We'll fight Smaragd since it wanted to aggro, and this is our first chance to see that bonus crit damage. You don't really notice the lower AR on most of the hits, at least I don't, but you do notice that big crit damage. Kind of like how if you have a normal job, you don't notice the taxes taken out of your paycheck, but when you become a self-employed kind of guy and miss your estimates, you end up with a very noticeable amount of money you owe to the IRS. Has that happened to anyone else? Please join the Patreon. Warpy Warpy, we're on the other side of Bellum and you can jump down to the Spirit Spring to die. The Spirit Spring didn't work, but this game is actively taking steps to nerf Rick, otherwise he'd simply be too powerful. Crystal Cave time, I shove so many dudes into the pit, it's rad. Grab some stones on the way down, then go toe to toe with the Crystallion. Obviously we don't need the other soldiers here, but they're our pals, we'll bring them in every fight if we can. Makes the Crystallion even easier. Actually, I don't even know that it made it easier. They were just kind of here. Hey look, it's the Altus Plateau and the sealed tunnel. Get used to seeing this place, it has Smithing Stone Bell Bearing 2. Only one of the soldiers uses a somber weapon, and even that one is going to use a standard weapon first, so we'll be coming here every time. There's also some smithing 5s on the way down, and an easy-ass Onyx Lord we can body for some extra runes to upgrade the sword. 8 out of 10 cave. Wood cave again. Our sword is now ready to sword, but what of our men? To get them higher, we need to get to the Weeping Peninsula first. Coincidentally, we also end up getting a bunch of sacred tears, and if nobody wants these sacred tears, I'll take them. Tombsword Catacombs has Grave Gloveworts 1 and 2. That's the whole reason we're coming here, and you know, the sacred tears. 3 early game ones just helps make sure your flasks are actually helpful. We'll hit the abandoned cave on the way to the next Gravewort. The Clean Rot fight is so much more manageable with 2 more guys. Handling 2 ladies at the same time is certainly doable, but it helps if you got the boys with you. Doesn't even matter that we got rock grabbed. We're fine and get the Golden Scarab to make more money. Further into Caelid by the Impassable Great Bridge, we can grab the Graves 3, 4, and 5 from the Caelid Catacombs and just boogie on out. This route is a lot better than what I was doing in the past. I freaking hate the Windham Catacombs, and I was going there to get the 4 and 5 and the bell bearing for 1, 2, and 3. This is actually faster than doing all of that. Oh, Gilka died. Looked away for a second. That's my bad. We're heading to Gelmnir. Zoom on up to the Gelmnir Hero's Grave, which, let's talk about Gelmnir Knights. They're not in the game. There's one ghost that's a Gelmnir Knight, and there's the Gelmnir Knight set, but they either got gobbled by Rykard or nuked somewhere. If you want to see me try to resurrect the Gelmnir Knight with a build, let me know. I think that could be fun, because it would probably be another greatsword run, and I like that. We're here for the Gravewort 6 and 7. Now, Roderica will get our ghosts up to level 7. We're ready for this run to start running. But if you're running around the internet and want to stay safe, check out today's video partner, NordVPN. The lands between might seem like a dangerous place, but think about it. It's definitely more dangerous to browse on public Wi-Fi. Radahn might be able to turn into a big meteor and squish your character flat, but hackers, identity thieves, and data miners want your real-life information to steal your real-world money. That's where NordVPN comes in. NordVPN encrypts your data, protecting it from all those nefarious sources. It's like a big bubble shield for your data. Here, while I'm talking about it, why don't you head to nordvpn.com/tulokmango so so you can check it out while I'm talking about it. There are so many threats out there: DOSing, malware, malvertising, and ransomware. It's like your private information is being attacked by the Godskin duo or something. If the Godskin duo wanted to steal your identity, they probably do. Nobody likes them. NordVPN isn't going to slow you down either. It's the fastest VPN on planet Earth. You know what? I think this is safe to say the entire solar system, they don't got anything on Mars as good as NordVPN. If you go to nordvpn.com/tulokmango, your secrets are safe with Nord. All those interesting things you're searching because I told you to are nobody's business but yours. There are dedicated NordVPN apps for all major devices, and one Nord account protects up to 10 devices. You even get a 30-day money-back guarantee. When you go to nordvpn.com/tulokmango and get a 2-year plan, you get 4 extra months for free. A special deal for our special fans. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description and get started browsing safely today. Now, let's see if this soldier can make it to the royal capital safely. Back to Rick in the second section, everything pre-capital. First up, Nerd Juice gets flipped like a flapjack. I love how good Stamp is. And Square Off. Two of the most basic bitch sword ashes of war are absolutely goated. Lovely. Patches also gets bodied.
I can't stand bald boys.
Margit is kind of on our team, but like, come on, no he ain't. Bring the boys, bring the stance pressure, and get a crit. He dies while going for the phase transition. Didn't even get to swing the hammer. R.I.P. Dude, this is my house. Are you kidding? They're gonna open up the door. They're gonna be stoked to see me. Everybody, I'm home, everybody. Hey, everybody, how's it going? How's it going, everyone? Good to see ya. Ow! Oh, God. Good prank. Ow! Okay. Guys, it's me. Only one thing could have happened. You talking shit about me. You made them betray me. You turned them against me. Those are my buddies. Those are my boys. I think Godrick might not actually want us here. If your boss fires you unjustly, there's only one solution. You become the boss. It's time for a coup. And if you like seeing coups, you've come to the right place. Google seeing coups and coming on your work computer to find out more. Our union is here with us and Godrick is weak. It's almost as though the real power of any operation is in the hands of the workers. We do too much damage to get a stance break in phase 1, but in phase 2, that crit just finishes him off so quickly and in such a satisfying way. Remember, workers of the world, unite. You have nothing to lose but yourself in the moment. You own it. You better never let it go. You only get one great rune. We could get others, but Godrick great rune on the Godrick soldier.
It's like, I was made for this.
Radahn, you're next. Obviously, the soldiers of Radahn will unionize in their run too, but wouldn't it be cool if unions combined to form a super union? Happens all the time. It's solidarity striking. It's very cool. Let's get some more union members, summoning everyone before charging the boss. Big charged attacks get us the stance break in phase 1 before he jumps up, and as he crashes down, we hit him again, get a second stance break right before he dies.
Again, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme.
Raya Lucaria next. We are just flying through the early game bosses. A Burger King tries to block the door. Hey, let me in. I paid my tuition. Red Wolf has like no health, but its stance pressure is pretty high. Or maybe it's not and it just dies before the stance break. Yeah, 5 hits wouldn't get a stance break against most bosses, and that's all it takes to kill this thing. That's gonna be a no from me, dog. I actually don't quit out for Moonrim. Just ring around his Rosie and he's fine. Renala is a 1 cycle in phase 1, then we just run her down in phase 2. Fully hold forward and press R1. No strategy needed. You want a big intelligent player, Renala? Hit things. Boggart gets saved for a second when we bounce off his prawns. Huh. I guess they do give a defensive buff. Raya warps us to Volcano Manor, and here I thought it was ridiculous when they asked us to carry one. I have no idea how I'd volcano a manor. New people to this video, it really pays to be a regular. We do so many in-jokes every time. It's kinda like a cult, except I'll never make you drink Kool-Aid. Unless Kool-Aid wants to jump in as a sponsor someday. Get in my DMs, Kool-Aid man. Smash me like the wall of an unhydrated person. Godskin Noble kinda looks like the Kool-Aid man. A big crit pushes him into phase 2, then we get another one for another big crit. Rollout hits 1, 2, 3, 4 times? And we die. It can hit 4 times? I thought it always stopped after 2. Is it because I blocked one? Weird stuff happening. I don't like it. Second try, more of the same. Another baloney rollout followed by a whiff. I really thought we were going to die twice to the Godskin Noble, and that would have been a pretty big bummer. We'll open up the Fog Gate here since we already have a 10% bonus to our crit damage. Then we stack that with the crit talisman for 17%. That's about 28% since it's multiplicative. Multiplicative. Fun word to say. That's going to be pretty nasty, and we can't show it off against Rykard because you can't crit him. He's a horse boss, I guess. If you are what you eat, I'm sure he ate a horse once. Serpent Hunter mostly scales with strength. We're mostly investing in strength, so the fight goes fine. It's not fun, but it's fine. Should I use the Serpent Hunter if I do a Gelmir Knight run? Like, not just for Rykard. I don't know. I was thinking it would be Knight's Greatsword with Eruption. Serpent Hunter seems a little too unique for our Knight run. Anyway, Rykard is dead. Time to find the hardest boss in Elden Ring. Soldier of God, Rick. 2, the Squeakquel. This one doesn't even need a weapon. He's just using his bare fists. My God, this is the true power of Rick. A sword would only make him weaker. Somehow we win. Get these torches as lit as this build, because this build has a great sword, and guys, what could be better than this? Guys being great sword guys. Maybe going hunting with the boys and fighting a big moose together. It runs away. It froze up from a tummy ache, and then it teleports to a place right next to us. So it dies. R.I.P. Moose. With the power of God, surely Rick can carry a manor. Loretta is always kind of a joke, but we can't get our big crit damage against horseback enemies. A major weakness of this build. Oh no. Anyway, say hi to Ronnie and the gang and give her a knife before wrapping up stream 1. I just started later than I want to. The build's going really fast. Speaking of going fast, we don't need Ghost Glovewort or a Somber 7 upstairs, so we just sprint through Noxtella and the Lake of Rot. Astel shoots a big laser, then we run in and run out. It's doing a lot of go away from me attacks. Managed to get that break for a crit and put some big meaty damage, but hey, why haven't I put the Dagger Talisman on? I picked it up. Phil, put the Dagger Talisman on. Put the Dagger Talisman on, dude. Oh, can't hear me. Oh, that sucks. The Valiant Gargoyles are no match for the power of Rick. We have a standard weapon. That's good against them. I mean, as good as it gets. They're still all spindly and stuff, but we get decent poison vomit luck here. They still do it a lot, just not as much as they would normally do. Okay, something I need to point out. I put my hair back here, everyone. It didn't go away. Sometimes I have my hair put back in a ponytail. There are comments asking why I got a haircut, or how I got my hair to grow so fast if I do a video with my hair down after I've had it up. Completely unrelated note, I'm gonna stop focusing on the spell enjoyer hate, because if there are comments that don't understand the concept of a ponytail, maybe it's a little mean arguing with that group of people. I'm not talking about you, of course, individual viewer. I'm talking about the collective viewers who fail to process images into information and think hair back mean hair gone, or spells good because range when they do less damage, and you get beat up more by being slower in a game with bosses that all have rushdown options. That's the last one, f***ers. Stop watching the video now if you're protesting though. You're a true hero. Anyway, Fia's champs, I'm hitting them with the sword. Our ashes are bulky enough that they don't die. We can fully launch that twink to death when there's 3 of them left, then focus on Lionel while our friends handle Poise Boy. Then he gets launched as well. Road to the Royal Capital, and we've only had 1 death in that section. Pretty nice. In the Royal Capital, even the avatars of God fear Rick. We passed the Royal Knight, and let's be real, we were already leaps and bounds ahead of them anyway. Sorry about the farming. Ritual Shield Talisman is a great one to throw on if you kinda don't need a lot of talismans. This one doesn't need much, it's just a greatsword, and that's enough. Godfrey Shade is a fellow just hit things enjoyer. Though he has the Earthquake Ash of War we can't get, please give us the full Axe Godfrey in the DLC with the Earthquake Stomp. Yeah, I'm getting hit by everything, but we have super high vigor, so it's totally fine. We eat the pickle, and that's a 3-minute timer. If we can go beat Morgott, we'll save an extra one. Dude gets stance broken just about immediately, and we get a charged attack as he stands up, which means another one follows in phase 2, and we save the pickle with a super dagger crit. For a sword that you can just pick up at the start of the game, this thing kinda rips. 4 Biden lands today, you're getting 6 of them, but I worry we focus too much on hitting old Brandon from the left, so let's hit the other guy from the left too. Oh my god, how is he worse than Brandon? Isn't that embarrassing to suck so hard that people think Brandon is better than you? More next run, we're just warming up. There's a bell bearing 3 we can use to level up our sword that's a sword. sword to be even more sword than it was before. We could go to the Consecrated Snowfield or through Fire Giant with standard weapons. I like to go through Fire Giant first. It's the fastest path to upgrade to max level. But actually, we're going into the Giant Conquering Hero's Grave to max out our boys first for a secret fun third option. I don't have the Margot's Shackle this run, so we have to duke it out in the closet with this Fire Monk. Hey, take your time. Come out when you're ready. I'll love you anyway. Well, no, I'll hate you, but I won't hate you more. That's a maxed out group of boys. Let's duke it out with the tallest dude. Fire Giant can get slashed. We're boosting our charged attacks as much as possible since crits aren't an option in phase 1. Bummer oh well. The sword is still a great sword, and that's still pretty great to just smack shit with. Our positioning is bad when we get the stance break, so no crits in phase 2 either. Not a huge issue. Fire Giant's crits are so weak for some reason. And he's big and slow. If you're patient and deal enough damage, it's not a problem. Fair Missoula is falling apart. Rick could really fix this place up. He feels like a handyman. We'll bring in Bernie for the Godskin duo. It's Limgrave and Gelmir working together. You love to see it. The Black Flame ritual melts one of our boys down, but one of them lives long enough to help with Bernie and I deal with the rest of the Godskins as they spawn in. Why is it called the Godskin duo when there's like 6 of them? It should be Godskin Army or Godskin Clergy or Godskin Bowling League or something. It's not 2. Lord Sworn's great sword is maxed out. Corey, please cut out the 5 minutes it took me to say that. Until now, Rick wasn't even using his full power. The bird run goes flawlessly. Malekith just runs right at our boys, letting us hit him from the back, or with him from the back. That also happens. The boys are taking all of the aggro, letting us get some great punishment off. Easy Malekith in about 10 minutes for all of Fair Missoula.
Jesus Christ, he's fast.
Gideon doesn't launch as he's monologuing. That's annoying. I wanted to blast him skyward. Guess we just have to hit him a lot. But that's not the interesting part. We have a 3-minute timer on to kill Godfrey before the pickle dies. And it's really more like 2 minutes after we climb the stairs. Bring in the boys and get aggressive. Like almost die because I was too aggressive. Stance break before he can earthquake, so we get 2 fully charged attacks off before phase 2, which means an immediate break in phase 2. Then another one after the stomps. We win with 20 seconds to spare.
You moved like they do. I've never seen anyone move that fast.
Oh my god, I tried to do a paragraph for every 10 minutes of video. We might have all of the Ashen Capital done in 10 minutes? Why is this dude hitting so hard? Radahn is gatekeeping God and beats us to death. That's death number 3. And the first one was just the game not working. Yeah, on attempt 2, I'm still getting hit with everything, but these crits be critting, and we get 3 of them. The last one gets us to our fight with God. We might just be a soldier, but it has Bosster, so we crit before the first rings. Then Elden Stars almost stun locks us into that super easy to dodge sword explosion attack and a camera beast breath. But we live in. It's a little stressful. 3 rings with some dodges. Who cares? I am simply too strong to die. We killed God so fast, one of our soldiers got to live and cleared out all of the Ashen Capital in 10 minutes. Rick is setting the bar and he is setting it high. Castle's Hole is no problem for Rick. We get in there deep and summon 2 of our soldiers against Niall's 2 soldiers. Ours last longer, even when Niall's try to box us into a corner. These crits are absolutely ripping through bosses. It's so satisfying, even if it's maybe not as good as just having better damage on our base hits. Honestly, it's not that much harder to kill the old man in the Alberneric village. We're in the Consecrated Snowfield and it's time to throw down with the Penguin Noble. I'm trying to send him skyward, it doesn't work. This is a little slow against NPCs. One weakness to God. A man who doesn't believe. Moog is basically Elden Ring Satan, but if the devil is 6, then the soldier of God is 7. We got huge damage and can chugga-lugga through the phase transitions. Our buddies don't make it. There's a lot of AoEs. AoEs kind of rip through Spirit Ashes. They don't really matter. We do make it. First try. Not totally sure why we did the Liturgical Town next instead of doing one of the 2 dragons we have to slay, but oh well, goes fine. Made a bunch of Neo Matrix jokes, so here's another one. We dodged the arrows like Neo Matrix. Good joke. We're pretty far into the video. Haligtree is also fine, pretty much only worried about the big bubble man and the Crystallion with the shotgun. Swag jump goes great. I've never missed it once. Loretta could be a problem if she had more health or harder to dodge attacks. She doesn't have either, so we mess her up, and the horse she rode in on. Teleported in on? Yeah, she really just kind of appears. Placiduous acts as a giant damage sponge and critting him is hard. Bigger issue is just the flame breath that stuns you into itself. I don't like that. Attempt 2, we hit it until it hits the TP phase. When it goes for the lightning nuke, we run to the back of the tail. It doesn't really extend out much further than that. We get a crit on the head, not the easiest thing to do, and then whiff the crit right at the end. Sure, we win, but it would have been a lot cooler with the crit. I'm not covering the run through Carry and Study Hall on all these runs. We do it 6 times. The video would be longer if I covered it, which is better for us in the ad reads, but nah, I'm not doing it. Hug Fia, bunch. Skipping that, let's fight 40 snacks. That's as many as 4 10s, and that's terrible. I've tried a new strategy lately of doing dashing R2s on the toes instead of dashing R1s. I think it works better since it's a big sweep rather than one slash. Only one lady left, the goddess of rot, but we're the soldier of God, not the soldier of the goddess. Rick, of course, is fine with a woman being a god. This just ain't his scene. Really, why would you worship rot? Worship something cool like funnel cake fries or the self-titled album by the presidents of the United States of America. Dragon Crest Great Shield should help with our physical defense. It's great that they put it right before Malenia, like, yeah, we fucked up. She hits too hard. I'm adding one more piece to our kit right at the end, leveling up the Brass Shield, which has a 100% physical defense rate. I can't really dodge the ducky dance. It's never worked for me. This way, she'll still heal, but at least we won't die. Hopefully. First attempt, run away, bring in the boys, then stamp. She does super armor dash, so whoops. Try the shield versus the ducky dance. It's okay. It breaks our endurance down so much that it basically doesn't matter. No crit on the stance break. It's fine. I'm not mad about it. Don't put it in the paper that I got mad. She duckies our soldiers and gets to heal quite a bit. Group Spirit Ashes are more of a liability in this fight than anything, but they do help keep the pressure up for crits, and I like that. One more crit leaves her at the perfect amount of health to start phase 2 with a charged attack. Our buddy's peppering her with crossbow bolts. Literally perfect. All that does is stop her from healing stance pressure without drawing aggro to become a juice box. Until it does draw aggro and he becomes a juice box and she heals a bunch. Avoid the supercharged ducky dance. We can't stamp anymore since I forgot to bring another blue juice. So we lost that one, but did really well considering we've got a sword and that's the entire build. Let's try it again with some blue flasks. Stamp to charged attack to R1s is basically a true combo into the crit. We can do it over and over and over again until she super armors up into the ducky dance. But God, we got some combos off. That super armor is super annoying. I guess if she didn't have it, you could just script the fight with stamp, but counterpoint. So I just want it to be easy. Phase 2 starts with really good stance pressure and the boys YOLO in to keep that up and also to become juice boxes so that she has more health than she was supposed to at the start of the phase. Nothing a few crits can't fix. We make it to the second onion and combo her again. That's the win. Need any more proof that Rick is chosen by God? Check out the final time. You're goddamn right. Rick beat 32 bosses in 6 hours and 9 very sexy minutes and only died 6 times. This dude ends up in high S tier above the Bloodhound Knight. So am I, Tulok, saying that the Lord Sworn Greatsword is better than the Bloodhound Fang? Yes. Quote me on that and use it as evidence that I'm a bad gamer. I'm joking. This is literally a skill issue. I've gotten better at the game, so we've cut a lot of the deaths out. But I do think that using a Greatsword as a dagger that can actually create stance breaks to justify the crit boost is pretty sick. There's also something to be said about only needing one stat for damage. If you go strength, heavy infusion, and crank it, you have plenty of levels left over for endurance and vigor. Hell, we had so many extra runes, we invested in mind a little bit just to use stamp more often. I don't know if Rick is going to end up being the strongest soldier, but he certainly set a high bar. And it's a reminder that Elden Ring is such a fun game. You can have fun just using a sword and hitting stuff. It's like really, really fun. Who's next? For Raya Lucaria, we blew ourselves right away, and now it seems as though we have something of a mess on our hands. You see, this build is going to be using the standard knight set, Knight's Greatsword with the corresponding armor. But unlike the other knights, the Cuckoos get scholarly with their armaments. That means we ditch the clean stats of Rick and now have to prioritize intelligence. It's also going to affect the power of our cucked glintstones. I've never used them before, but I've watched other people use them from behind a slightly cracked closet door. It's a rock, you throw it, it shoots some beams. Seems neat. The farm is also different from Rick. Instead of beating down around 13 soldiers, we only farm one knight at a time. And that knight is in Lernia, so let's boogie over there as soon as we get our horse. On the way, we can pick up the recipe for those cuckoo glintstones from this little camp, then a simple standard warpy warp to get to the other side of Lernia, right to our ideal farming location, the Bellum Church. Remember, if you can't beat them, Bellum. Here's how farming works. We run down the hill, fight one guy, and warp back. He'll always take time to apply his scholar's armament first, which leads to a very consistent way to fight him with the sword. Hit him with 2 square-offs, that breaks his stance. He'll always be backing up to get the spacing to use scholar's armament. Every now and then he manages to get it off because we whiff our horse dismount or something, but then we just gotta fight him the old-fashioned way. Like I mentioned earlier, the Godrick Knights drop way less runes, but we're taking out a whole camp there. This one is worth more, but there's only 21, and we have to run all the way down every time. A silver pickle lasts 3 minutes, so it would really only help us out for like 2 instances at most, since we'd also have to run back up the hill and can't warp back. It's really just a matter of patience. But our first drop is at number 10, or Caterpie for the Pokemon counters. It's the armor, looks neat, and it's probably the second best thing we could have drop. I would really love to get the sword first, then we could level it up and make the farm a little faster. At 20, we get the shield. Thanks. That's Raticate. We're not using the shield. Immediately after, though, at 21, we get the sword, which is Spearow. Then we head to the Raya Lucaria Crystal Tunnel. Yeah, I compensate with humor. I'm dead. Seriously? Again, what the hell with the Spirit Spring today? Obviously, the smithing stones are important, but are perhaps just as important, well, not nearly as important actually, are the cracked crystals. Those are mandatory ingredients to make our Cuckoo glintstones later. Oh, let's talk about the Knight's Greatsword though. It rips. It's a great sword, so obviously it's good, but this one has a unique R1 combo moveset that just looks so good. This is the same one we're going to be using for half of these runs, or 2.5 of these runs. One of these runs is going to use this until it gets its other weapon way later in the game. It's the Mikola Knight. The Crystallion doesn't stand a chance. In fact, because of the stamp upward cut Ash of War, it doesn't really stand at all. We send that shit skyward. Back to the farm now, we get the helmet around 24, that's Arbok. Just need this guy to drop his pants and give us a hand now. We get the legs at 30, which is Nidorina, and then we start getting dupes. For like a long time. Eventually I try some other graces to time them out. The one at the bottom of the rune-strewn precipice is slower, and we're out of stamina because when you sprint past the little mushroom dudes, that counts as combat, so you use up your stamina. Then from the cliffs below, also not faster. I don't know what it is, but there's always just one piece of a set that doesn't want to drop. We'll get duplicates of a bunch of stuff on the way to it, but it takes until number 53 to get the gauntlets to drop. That's Persian for the Pokemon counters, but this isn't even close to the worst farm we're doing today. You will see that later. Next piece we need is some boys, and we'll get them from the Road's End catacombs, though I'm not totally sure I remember where they are, and we got gargoyled. Turns out they're actually down the main path behind the invisible wall. Whoops, then get killed by gargoyles again on the way out. Off to a bad start on this one, but now we have almost everything we need, which also means that it's time to imagine Ray, a Lucarian in Fortnite. Then we battle another Fortnite for the Bloody Slash, so this run can also carve up the dragon in the Dragon Barrel. Everyone gets to do that, it just helps the build get together a little bit faster. Then your regularly scheduled Pharaoth run, the bats leave us alone, and we get out with the other piece of the Dectus medallion unscathed. But no dragon, not yet. There's a golden pickle next to something else we have to do in Limgrave, so for optimal movement throughout the world, we'll grab it and then head in to fight the Pumpkinhead. Our little cherub rocks this guy, fully smashes his pumpkins. Then Selen will be selling us Scholar's Armament. It's a spell that applies 75% of your intelligence sorcery scaling into magic damage to your weapon. Now we'll body the dragon and check out that beautiful moveset. Is it any better than the regular greatsword moveset?
No, I'm just feeling it.
That's 40 vigor in the bag, baby. Now everything's gonna be a lot more smooth sailing. Let's go get paid more when we get paid, and show these clean rots how we do it in Lernia. Apparently we do it by getting rotted immediately and quitting out, and starting the cave over. That's not how you should do it, gamers. Bring in the boys! The Raya Lucaria soldiers have 3 units, 2 foot soldiers, 1 bigger soldier, so 2 foot guys, 1 size queen sounds like a fun Friday night. They distract the other ones while we fight the first one, easy win. Up to Altus, something terrible is going to be happening on this highway, but that's not right now. Later, stay tuned. For now, let's hit up the sealed tunnel, unsealing it, and then putting it back in the fridge to go bad. Absolute degenerate behavior. Onyx Lord can get launched upward, so we just do that over and over and over again. Makes the fight pretty free. Gotta love that stamp, baby. Those runes are enough to buy us the stones for the sword to hit plus 13. Now we'll upgrade the boys, Weeping Peninsula, and another detour. We have to fight the Demi-Human Queen that isn't a boss. This one drops the Demi-Human Queen staff, though, which is the best scaling before you hit something like 40 intelligence. God, sorcery builds are demanding. But just as good as any other build, they just make you work harder to do less. I wish there was a simpler word for that. Anyway, Grave Gloveworts in the Catacombs, and we'll get 3 Sacred Tears as a little cherry on top of this field trip. Next up, we head down to Caelid via the Dragon Barrow to get a few smithing stones on top of this skull and an extra Sacred Tear from the Church of the Plague. Then into the town of Celia, we can open up the Fog Gate for the Nox duo. This duo is no match for our quartet. It's 5 times stronger at least. Math isn't our strong suit. We haven't invested in intelligence yet. But when we do, the Lustat staff has the highest intelligence scaling in the game, should make Scholar's Armament worth the investment.
I doubt it, but you never know.
Caelid Catacombs have Grave Wards 3, 4, and 5 for our soldiers, and we're not fighting the boss. It's a cemetery shade. I dislike those. They move weird. On the way to the Gelmir Hero's Grave, we killed Gilka for the Ritual Sword Talisman. Don't have to talk about that fight, but we can talk about split damage. Since we're splitting between magic and physical with Scholar's Armament, defenses from enemies are going to be applied twice. People bring this up when they mention you shouldn't mix your damage types. However, buffs also get applied twice. The magic damage gets a 10% boost from Ritual Sword, and the physical gets a 10% boost from Ritual Sword. Not all buffs are created equal, like Blue Dancer only works for physical, but most things work for both. It's not all that bad. It's perfectly balanced, as all things should be. Gelmir Hero's Grave could go bad. I tried to warp out, but the pages said no, so I said, die. Then we warp out and have the Grave Gloveworts we need. Soldiers are leveled up, sword is leveled up, that was pretty quick. But the first section of this is all luck. I'm much more curious to how the second section goes. At Margit, we still don't have the intelligence for Scholar's Armament, but it turns out a greatsword with no stat investment is still pretty solid as long as you hit plus 13. Remember kids, level your health, then your weapon, then the rest of your stats. Makes for a much smoother run. Then take Gostok to the School of Getting Rocked. Once we get Godrick's Great Rune active, we'll be smart enough to slap some blue juice on our armament if we live through the danger path. We do. It's not even bad. It's not even like a problem. Okay, Godrick time, bring the boys in, then bring the pain with some charged R2s. Big stance break and we're already in phase 2. Guess what happens there? Another stance break, crit, and he dies. I'm not sure which of the knights will be the strongest, but Godrick is for sure the weakest general. Dude really sewed all his soldiers to himself. Hey, my guy, have you not heard of tactical strength through initiative fixing? +5 to every stat, that's gonna be huge for us. Think about it, if we rock a heavy infusion on the greatsword, it will basically be the same damage per swing as Radahn or Godrick, but then we can throw our massive sorcery scaling on top of it, as long as the spells don't demand a ton of stat investment to be good.
I'm gonna tell him.
Don't you dare.
Speaking of Radahn, we'll debut our Scholar's Armament here, giving us a nice clean 80 more damage per swing. That doesn't sound like a lot, and it's not, but considering it's one application and all of those hits are doing more damage for a minute, that ain't terrible. It's terribly efficient. Bring a few more friends to the party. The nerds always throw the best parties. At least, I think they do, because I'm a nerd. Can you imagine how bad a party would be if nobody set up a Smash Bros TV? Radahn is almost dead before phase 2 even starts. That extra damage seems to be quite helpful. A few more hits after he lands and we're done. Oh hey, we should get some pickles, right? 3 hits takes out Nerd Juice, but let's be real, it's Nerd Juice, not all that surprising. Now Patches, that's also a really easy fight. 3 hits there too, I mean, it's Patches. Pickle Recipe is a go. Let's go buy some from the Round Table Hold. On our way to the Intelligence Physic tier, I checked the Revenger's Shack. Apparently it's the best place for crystal buds. Those are the other ingredients for our cuck glintstones. Remember, you can't get cucked without a bud. Anyway, you can grab like 1, I think. This is annoying, and you can only hold 10 crafted cucks at a time. So if this is what we have to do 10 times between every fight to use them,
I'm gonna have to say no. And by no, I mean hell no.
I can think of a few places where it might be useful to have ranged utility, but for the most part, we'll just use the greatsword with a ton of damage. Oh god, oh wait, sorry, consumable enjoyers. You're good people, smart people, sexy people, in fact. Just because I said consumables weren't as good as a greatsword, that doesn't mean I think you individually are a bad person. It's exhausting having to do this every time, but that's what we have to do apparently. Let's go boost the magic damage from an Erdtree avatar. Simple enough. They don't have great magic defense, or maybe they do, and it's Lernia. I can't be bothered to check. Let's try for a twofer in the Dragon Barrel by hacking up the Putrid Avatar first. I think maybe they have some decent magic defenses. Or it's just the Dragon Barrel. I can't be bothered to check. 3-minute timer. Can we kill Grail that fast? I don't know. But I do know that Scholar's Armament is a visual 2-minute timer. Once the buff wears off, we probably have 30 seconds-ish to finish things off, and we did. Very cool. Back to our old stomping grounds. Raya Lucaria, what a place. There's a big dog you can hit with a sword. You have to hit, not can hit. You have to hit the dog with a sword. Obviously, a group of 4 soldiers just attacking an animal would be kind of messed up. So hey, why isn't this a Moongrim build as we quit out for Moongrim? Well, I think it's because nobody wants Moongrim on the Patreon polls. Keep putting them on the Patreon polls because I keep seeing the comments that want Moongrim, but the patrons don't like him. So you should become a patron so you can say you like Moongrim and vote for him and make him win. We're doing a Knight stuff today, and the Knight takes 2 cycles to get Renala through phase 1. Makes sense. She has 80% magic resistance. Her magic resistance is so high, I don't even reapply the buff for phase 2. It doesn't feel worth it, but we still have a sword, so we just sort of hit her. We'll buy Stamp from Bernie so that when we get the stats to make a heavy sword, that damage will pay off eventually. Then we add a little blue Gatorade to Boggart's soup. Glacier freeze broth. Don't knock it till you tried it. Raya will take us up to Volcano Manor, and we can clear things out up here, as well as grabbing these Somber Stones we need for Lustat staff. Believe it or not, since we're cranking nothing but intelligence, we actually should swap to the staff that isn't demi-human. Godskin Duo is blocking our path like a Snorlax, and he hits hard like a Snorlax, but we hit as hard as Honedge? Hunedge? Is it pronounced Hunedge? Yeah, I think we edge in Hun. Get the extra Stone Sword key on the way, and then go through the fog wall, drop down, and grab the free rune arc as we do. It's a free rune arc that we spent 2 Stone Sword keys to get, I guess. We just wanted the Somber 7. The rest of our Sombers will come from the Dragon Barrel. We still have to drink our Physic to get the Lustat staff stats, but yeah, that's a lot more magic damage than we were getting with the Demi-Human Queen staff. Not against Rykard though. Can't buff the Serpent Hunter, so we just sort of hit him, and he dies.
Moving on.
Damn, did we study proctology? Because we're going into Radahn's big hole to fight the Mimic tier. It's also a boss worth skipping over. Though somebody said the jumping R1 to grounded R1 with the Knight's Greatsword is a true combo in PvP. Maybe it is. I don't know. I believe the Regal Cinema Spirit also has high magic resistance, but it doesn't take too long, so maybe it doesn't. Can't be bothered to check. Carry a manor? Maybe with the right equations, we could develop some sort of pulley system. Loretta certainly could add some horsepower to the equation. Get it? Horse? She's dead again. Ghost Loretta gets ghosted. Now we can start the optional Ronnie quest that is mandatory. Talk to the gang, get the knife, deliver the knife, and run through the Incel River main. Don't need any upgrades, so sprint through both Noxtella and the Lake of Rot. Astel runs away a lot. This would be a decent place to use the Cuck Glintstone if I crafted any. Also forgot to craft the pickles, so we lose some rune potential at the end. That's a pretty big bummer. This is probably the build that needs the most rune investment. 4 of these kind of need a lot more investment than the other 2. I bet you can guess which the 2 easier ones are. Magic is the best elemental type for the Valiant Gargoyles, though Strike would be ideal. Personally, I think Craig Blade should turn weapons into strike damage, but that's not really relevant to what we're doing now. Right now, we're just hitting these dudes with some big old damage from our brainy blade, giving them both some brain at the same time. Google giving 2 gargoyles brain at the same time on your work computer to find out more. AOL keywords are Goliath and Hudson if you want the most accurate results. Final boss of this section is Fia's Champs, and our soldiers should help us fix that initiative. So will Stamping the Twink at the beginning of phase 3. Honestly, the damage is pretty cracked on this build. We carve up all 5 without much issue. With that, we're ready to take on the capital and get all the way to the Elden Beast. After farming, we haven't died yet on this run, which bodes well. Will the trend continue?
But you know what I like a lot more than materialistic things? Knowledge.
The Royal Capital isn't an issue for navigation, the Lord's Rune should still be helpful for leveling, and the Ritual Shield Talisman will give us a little extra beefiness when we need it. Although our armor is already solid, it's not as important to this run. Godfrey Shade is also pretty weak to magic, and it's just extra damage, no reason not to slap it on. Maybe weapon buffs are sick. I always thought they were kind of mid, but there's really no downside to just lubing up before a fight. Morgott right after, Pickle's still active, we can do it fast, we'll save it, easily get it done. Plenty of extra time to think about life. 10-minute capital, you'll love to see it. For Biden lands, I wish Brandon would do more for student debt, but it seems like he's gotten some of it canceled. There's no way that's happening with Donald Tronald. So points for that, I guess. Now we just press circle through the mountaintops of the giants until we get to the giant conquering hero's grave. Forgot to get the Market Shackle, so we just gotta deal with the fire monk in that little well. Oh, well. It's relatively painless. We just get the grave warts we need to max out the boys and bail. Finally, we make it to the fire giant. Around 20% magic resistance here. The only lower one he has is lightning. Should make for a pretty smooth fight, or at the very least, a quick one. Charged heavies are the move, until I get sick of hopping off the horse and just stay on it. Bad idea. That's how you get your horse killed and almost get smacked on the ground. But I've never been punished in my entire life. First try fire giant. Fair Missoula should go fine. Magic is just kind of fine damage type. It's never super effective like Holy or Fire can be against some bosses, but it's only really bad against like Smaragd and Renala. And who's struggling with Smaragd and Renala? I guess builds that depend on magic damage. Godskins start kind of bad, just poorly timed attacks and dodges. But when it goes for the rollout, we use those Cuckoo Glintstones. They are fine.
I know you can be overwhelmed, and you can be underwhelmed. But can you ever just be whelmed?
Not worth the time it takes to craft them. Honestly, I'd prefer something like Magic Glint Blade and just keep that spell in that spell slot. It's not like it takes any extra effort to carry. You start with 2 slots. After that, the whole gang just bullies one Godskin at a time. Once you fix the initiative, this fight is a cakewalk. Swag jump landed. Bird run ran. Let's not forget to max out the sword and the Lustat staff. With 383 scaling currently, the Lustat staff is giving us an extra 287 magic damage per hit. Honestly, I think we we'd get more just infusing it with magic, or a Cold Ash of War, which would stop us from buffing. That extra damage seems to be helping us get to phase 2 until he hits us with a spin that I didn't dodge right. Bummer, first death in a long time. Attempt 2, Mally just dashes right into us. We get hit by everything. Despite the stance break, I wait for him to stand up before we hit him with the Charged R2. I want my crit in phase 2, please. That's much better. We get the crit in phase 2, getting us the win. It really feels like we're cooking this run. We're already in the Ashen Capital. Gideon gets stamped. That doesn't launch him because he was talking. Then we just get him in a circle and don't let him move. That's the Shaun of the Dead school of fighting. Falling off the branch means we have way less time for Godfrey, but maybe, just maybe, the extra damage will be enough. We get the stance break right before phase 1 ends. Huge bummer. Some greed almost gets us killed right before the end, but he goes down just in time for us to lose the pickle. Oh no. Gotta eat another one. But we could do Radahn in 3 minutes or less, and then we'll save that pickle.
Like that's ever gonna happen.
I believe our armament is so damn scholarly. It kind of carves through Radahn. Elden Beast is famous for stalling out though. Get some big pressure as it goes for the breath. Then we get melee attacks, which means the pressure carries into a stance break and a crit. It's already below half health and it's doing more melee attacks. No ring, then rain, and more melee attacks. Is he throwing? We lost the pickle, but is he throwing? Stance break for another crit. That's the win. No first ring, no Elden stars. Maybe the fastest Elden Beast we have ever done. Only one more death between the start of the capital and the end of the Elden Beast. Scholar's armament is kind of cracked, I guess. Though nothing's cracked until the fat lady sings, or the rot lady in this game's case. First things first, let's storm the castle's hole and battle Niall and his boys. We have more boys. It's simple math. Since our soldiers are taking on one of Niall's, I decide I'm just gonna go for him directly before he powers up. Good strategy, makes him pretty free. Not as free as the old man in Lernia, but pretty free. Oh boy, a big open snow area for me to run through. Don't mind if I do. Penguin Noble gets carved up and we're already in Mogwin, where Torrent tries to kill me. But I'm not dying again, not on this run, not to Moog. At this point, we are officially hitting the hardest of any of the builds. Kind of, not really actually. But we're only focusing on damage. We're not investing in stamina or HP like the Godrick soldier did. The best Moog fights are always the fastest ones. Just kill him before the bleed has a chance to build up, and you're good. Next up, we'll hit the Carrion Study Hall to just, let's just skip this. It's not important. Nothing bad happened. We just got the Curse Mark of Death and left. Give Fia her hugs, and then it's right into the big old Death Dragon. We'll be using those cucked glintstones with the 80 intelligence scaling, hitting the head directly. It's fine. Pretty bad, actually. You can only hold 10 of these. So we finish off on his toes instead of his face, which isn't as fun in my opinion. Liturgical Townie is uneventful, just blast on through it. So is the Haligtree, though I always love a little swag jump. This one isn't even hard, just give it a shot at home. You can avoid the battle mage on the bridge. It's better in my opinion. Loretta kinda resists magic pretty heavily, but nothing ridiculous. Honestly, her damage is the bigger problem. That's not even that big of a problem. Aelphiel has been a problem in the past, but at this point we're pretty practiced at it. Some builds with frailer armor succumb to the spiders while grabbing the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman. This isn't going to be one of them. Never mind, yeah it is. Final prep, we get our crystal buds ready so we can yeet some cuck glintstones when Malenia is in the onion. It should be a huge help. Malenia is our final boss.
You sure about that?
And what a boss she is. The stamp to charged attack combo should work just as well as it did in the Godrick run, but we get some bad super armor luck and run out of stamina, so I get grabbed. That's not good. Attempt 2, it's seeming like maybe bringing our boys is a bad idea. They kinda just heal her up like a lot. And they interrupt our combos. She duckies us, then duckies one of our boys, then is already healed out of ducky range. We have to reapply the armament, otherwise this is just a worse version of the strength builds. Well, I mean, this is still a worse version of the strength builds. Number 3, leave the boys at home and lead with the cucked glintstones before getting cucked by the super armor. Next one goes worse. Maybe we need to get the first stance break without the stamp. That would work great if she didn't just add super armor to everything she does. She really just says, "That's a nice script there. It would be a shame if someone were to skip it with super armor." Next death is another grab from a lack of stamina. Endurance is so key. Gamers, remember everyone, when you get a stance break during a super armor move, her stance pressure resets to 0. So you can get to like 75% of her health down with regular attacks and not get a break. Yeah, this really isn't going as well as it did for Godrick. And why not? Pure dumb luck could be part of it. Honestly, maybe we just got lucky cycles with Godrick. I really think it's the stamina and the health that Rick was bringing though. now. Remember how I said this one should do the most damage? Maybe in like 30 more levels, and that's like 30% more damage, coming at the cost of 20% of your health and 40% of your stamina. Basically, this is something you should do with your Godrick build after you've gotten to 60 vigor and endurance and are like, well, what do I do now? Eventually, we take a little break to run up and kill a putrid avatar for some runes to buy rune arcs because we ran out of rune arcs.
This is a bummer, man.
Then, like every D&D session I wish I could opt out of, it's time to go shopping. If I'm your DM and you make me do a shopping session for you, just know you've put me in my own personal hell. We'll flounder against Malenia in the background, but y'all, why do you like shopping so much? You have the sword of Garluxus, the God Smasher, which is a +4 to hit and damage with an expanded crit range down to 17. Oh, but I wonder if the local blacksmith smells anything better. He doesn't. And I can only do Bimble Bop Goblin Shopkeeper voice so many times before I cast Power Word Pain on myself to bail. Oh, hey, look at that. We made it to phase 2 for the first time and almost won. That's probably sad for Stream Phil. He looks sad. Anyway, if you want to shop in your D&D game, just tell your DM what you want and subtract the gold from the inventory. Also, why are you all haggling? You have the gold of nations in your bag of holding. Adventuring parties with 200,000 gold be like, can we get a discount on this plate mail? And then let's be honest, your rogue is just going to steal it anyway. You don't even want to roleplay a shopping experience. I don't know what you sick fucks want, but it saps all narrative momentum from the story, never gives you anything of value, and probably makes you a pariah to the village you're supposed to be heroes of. Stop shopping. Oh, hey, look, we're in phase 2 again. The stamp comboing is actually going pretty well. Big stance break, then another stamp combo. She has a sliver left when she goes for that final onion, and we died a rot because I charged in there and hit her. But we count those. At 6 hours and 41 minutes, we beat, oh shit, I forgot Placiduous Axe. Okay, let's do that multiple weeks later and hope nobody notices. It's Placiduous Axe though. Who really cares, right? It's not like I missed Radahn. By the way, I forgot Radahn in the Finger Maiden episode and barely anyone noticed, so it's okay. Let's lube up and charge in. The damage is looking pretty okay. We get a stance break as it turns around, putting us in prime position for a crit. That's not a lot of damage. Why are the bosses that are the hardest to crit the least affected by crits? Our positioning is off for the Omega Laser again. Hate that. So it gets to teleport a little bit more, but that's our last boss. At 6 hours and 46 minutes, it ends up in A tier, tied with the Ant run, and it's really just a testament to how good the Greatsword is. I think if these were NG plus runs, this might actually be the strongest and fastest, with a mix of damage coming from the Heavy Infusion and the Scholar's Armament. But for new game, those requirements hold us back a little bit. Not much, just a bit. Now let's do another run that's strength, vigor, and endurance, but more. Okay, if you thought being a nerd was cool, it's time to get rad. The Knight of Radahn is going to be using the Knight's Greatsword, but unlike that dork Ray, we're just going to invest in raw strength. Kinda like the Godrick run, now that I think of it.
He does exactly what I do, but better.
Not exactly. We'll be using the Radahn Knight armor, so it'll be a little heavier in the armor department. 2, stamp. It's good, but it's so not jumping in the air and doing a goddamn flip to crack an enemy's skull. And 3, we'll get the grease. Sometimes. Sometimes we'll use fire grease. Here's the thing. The Radahn Knights in Redmane Castle just always have flaming swords. It's not an Ash of War, though Flaming Strike does say it's their technique. But all these knights use Lion's Claw and also Barbaric Roar somehow? I thought you could put it on your shield, but no, they just cheat, and cheating isn't cool. For some reason, I fought this Godrick Knight again for the Knight's Greatsword. Actually, no, I know exactly why I did it. Fextra Life said that Godrick, Raya Lucaria, Mausoleum, and Lyndell Knights drop it. To be fair, this is a such as. But such as, followed by 4 specific examples, makes me think it's just those, especially because there's 6 total. For a such as, it's like you're trying to save space or word count, so just do like 1 of the 6 or all of the 6. Anyway, we got boxed in by the Knight and the Dog, but don't worry, that's going to be the only death this run.
Sure, Jan.
Why do you doubt? Just because we're only using a greatsword and some basic soldier ashes? Surely that won't have the lowest death total of any run we've ever done, right? Anyway, it drops on number 12, which is Butterfree. That's pretty good odds. Before we do the rest of the farming, we'll crank the sword up with a little smithing stone trip to Lernia. I'm taking the eastern path up, thinking that might save time by grabbing the Grace on the bridge to go to the study hall later and get 3 free Silverfoots from this little camp for better farming odds. Will they make any difference? No, they pretty much never do. This is almost exactly like the run through the Raya Lucaria crystal tunnel as it was with Ray, but we don't need the cracked crystal. So it's a little faster. Already saving time on the splits, even though technically I did this run second. I don't know why I did this one second and we put the Raya Lucaria one first in the video. We just did. Crystallion can get launched, but I want to use that R1 moveset. Can you blame me?
You know what the difference is between you and me? I make this look good.
Next step, get those Dectus pieces, so after grabbing the Physic and the Axe Talisman, we can imagine being rad in fort height. So rad, we beat the Fort Knight and get the Bloody Slash Ash of War, then zoom into the Dragon Barrow to get the other piece of the Dectus Medallion. Grab Radagon's icon, and then warp out. Then level up the sword a bit and grab our pickle before going to the bad dragon and whacking it by the toes. Google grab your pickle and whack it between the toes on your work computer to find out why we do this. Now we can head up to Altus, and it's not time for the bad things. That comes later. For now, it's time for the Sealed Tunnel and another round with the Onyx Lord. This was before I knew about stamps, so we just kind of hit him with the R1s. It looks nice. That's 40 vigor and plenty of upgrades on the sword. Farming in Caelid should go much better now. And it really does. There's only one knight, but he's excited to drop his pants. He does it on the first farm, which is Bulbasaur. That's fine if you're comfortable with your partner, but use protection. Like the protection of a second pair of pants. They drop so fast. Okay, maybe you're a little overzealous, my guy. Cracking the Silver Pickle, there's a lot of running to get back here, and you generally can only kill a couple of knights before the pickle goes away. Shield drops at 4, which is Charmander. I don't like shields, but this one looks cool. Another shield on 6. We have so many shields, so many pants. Take a brief detour to get the Strength Physic tier. If we can cut one hit out of the combos, it would be worth it. There's a glitch, maybe a feature of the game, that the physics stay active for 3 minutes, regardless of whether or not you rest at the Grace. Meaning that if you get back to the Grace, rest, and drink a physic again, those buffs will stack infinitely. The shirt and helm drop on 9 and 10 respectively. We're struggling to get the hands again for some reason. I don't know why, it's always one holdout. Oh, that physics stacking thing that I just said, it's a lie, but you've already typed your comment, so you might as well just hit send. You fell for it, fool. Never correct me. No, but seriously, why are you posting corrections? What do you expect us to do? Like, do we pull the video because I said the Alex shard was 20% instead of 15% or something? It's up. It's done. That serves no purpose. The gloves end up dropping around Sandshrew, number 26, not bad. Hey, right next door we can grab the Lion's Claw from Fort Gale. I'm not totally sure every Radahn Knight has to charge through a bunch of flamethrowers, avoid gravity arrow rain, and fight a lion in the fight pit to learn Lion's Claw, but my headcanon, 100% accurate. This is one of the best Ashes of War in the game, and you get to earn that shit. And a free rune art, just gravy on top. Good enough to fight the Clean Rots, I think, even though we get rotted on the way in. Never mind, quit out. Hey, honest question here as we fight the Clean Rot Knights. What are the other Ashes of War for? What are the other methods of doing damage for when Lion's Claw exists? Maybe jumping forward into a front flip to split everyone in half isn't your preferred strategy? But it fucking should be. I feel it, gamers. This is gonna be a good run. We're going right for Radahn, no time to waste with Margit, mostly because our buddies are locked behind the Radahn fight. It's pretty early to be doing this, but I'm not super worried. We can summon the temporary pals. Radahn kinda likes fighting everyone at the same time. Early crit, and we just keep hopping until he hops up, hops down, and we pop one more time. His stance breaks, and we win. Wasn't even that hard. Turns out unionizing makes beating your boss pretty easy. That means we can boogie through the dunes like I'm Paul Atreides. That's how you say it, right? Atreides? Got a little lost in the warded catacombs. Must have forgot to pay my 2 mana. Am I right, Magic the Gathering fans? Radahn Soldier Ashes acquired, and even better, there's Grave Glove worth 6 in here, which means we don't have to go to the Gelmir Hero's Grave, since there are 7s in the Giant Conquering Hero's Grave. It does mean we'll have slightly less leveled up boys than other runs, with 2 exceptions, but I'm not worried about it. Then we get 3, 4, and 5 from Caelid Catacombs and the Weeping Peninsula. Though, to be totally honest, I forgot to grab the stuff from the Weeping Peninsula until we went to upgrade with Roderica and didn't have anything. I didn't have to leave that in the video. I'm just a very honest person, other than all the lying I tend to do. The Fire Grease recipe is in a little camp by Stormvale, and then we're done with prep. Only 1 death. That's pretty standard for these runs so far. Let's see how well the Lions can claw their way through the rest of the game. Margit first, 3 Lion's Claws, breaks the stance, and a 4th kills him. Didn't even start the dialogue for the phase transition. Tactical error though, we killed Gostok before he opened the gate. This lion's just a little too wild. Oh well, safe path it is, and it's not that much slower. Yeah it is, but we can grab some useful stuff like, well, nothing. Yeah, that was just a goof on my end.
How can you make a mistake like that?
Oh, no, it wasn't a mistake. I did it as a goof.
Super cool jump off the rooftop. That's why I did it, cause it's rad. Godrick time. Just keep doing flips. We actually bring the boys here and I think they help, but I don't know. It's over really fast. It's kind of just a blur. The whole dungeon took 8 minutes. I guess 10 minutes if you count the run to activate Godrick's Great Rune. Do I remember to activate that right away? No. Turn nerd juice into pancakes, then patches into patch cakes. It only takes 2 flips for each of them. Hey, we never grabbed the key for Raya Lucaria. Whoops. Smaragd wants to fight. I'm curious if Lion's Claw can hit the dragon head.
Yes.
Just to add another boss to the tally, I guess. Obviously, Red Mane Lions have a friendly rivalry with the Raya Lucaria Wolves. Let's flip the dog with some absolute bananas damage. Like, this is just going to be the fastest section of the video because I can't explain the fights beyond we jump and things die. I'm like goddamn Mario. I'm even dressed in red. Renala manages to survive the first phase. Never mind, this weapon and Ash are garbage. In phase 2, we just flatten her down. Every time we hop, she falls down and can't get back up. Never mind what I said earlier with the never mind, this Ash of War and weapon are sick. Hey Boggart, you probably want color on both sides of your prawns. You should flip them. Rad Dan over here sealing in that flavor. Raya will take us to Volcano Manor. We don't need any Somber Stones. We need to kill. Godskin Noble with the boys. It's got good fire defense, so they're not doing a lot, but we get stance breaks so fast. Remember, Lion's Claw is 33 stance damage per hit, but comes out faster than a charged attack. It's ridiculous. And for Rykard, we use the Serpent Hunter.
Daring today, aren't we?
Big strength investment makes it hit a little harder. Not a lot, whatever, it's over. Time to go into our boss's hole. Not sure I love the power dynamic here, but we have to fight against less Rad Dan. If Soldier of God Rick is a boss, so is less Rad Dan. All the soldiers just kind of get around him and bully him without a weapon. Light all the torches. I bet a lion would love to eat a moose. Actually, in reality, I think a moose would destroy a lion, but oh well. It gets so close to dying before teleporting away and getting to heal. God dang it. Time to test out our cardio, something lions are famous for not being great at actually. They like to run quickly in short bursts. Anyway, we moosed the moose. If any soldier can carry a manor, surely it will be Rad Dan. And if any soldier can beat Loretta, it's all of them. I'm sorry you're so weak, girl. I think your design is sick. Our boss's sister sends us to run errands, unbefitting of a knight, but there's no other way to get into the study hall, so...
Fine, but I'm gonna complain the whole time.
Incel Revermain, yeah, I doubt it. Ignore everything in Noxtella and the Lake of Rot. Rot is actually a portmanteau of running lots. Fun fact. Astel hits us with some gravity, but that's no worry. Radahn trained us for this. He's the Star Scourge and we are his student. If a star falls on the earth and nobody is around to hear it, that's because Radahn's soldiers cut its goddamn head off. Valiant gargoyles are blocking the deep root, but we have a couple meat soldiers to put in front of them as a distraction. Also, we're dealing standard damage, which is weirdly good here. It's like if normal type was super effective in a Pokemon game. We almost die as I greet out a crit at the end, but of course we don't. I've never been punished in my entire life, and the gargoyles will always be an easy fight. Pop the ants on the way down to Deeproot, but we don't need any more rune arcs because we will never die. Initiative is equal for Fia champs. We have 2 buddies, and they make at most 3 people at a time. Lion's Claw one-shots that twink, and the other dudes keep Poise Boy occupied long enough for us to finish off Lionel. Ah, a fellow lion. R.I.P. dude. Finally, we finish Poise Boys off, and we're ready to hit the capital with our rad moves. No deaths here. Can the trend continue?
Gold line's gonna tell me where the light is.
It went to a second stream not because it was too slow, I just had to get a lot done that day. Erdtree Avatar can't be flattened, but we still beat it down super quick, even though it also janks us out of crit range. We really don't need specific talismans for this build, which means it's a perfect time to get the Ritual Shield Talisman. Don't need anything specific? Die less. Cool. Godfrey Shade sure is shady, but our raw ouchie power is too much for him. 3-minute timer is active. Morgott is simply no match for absurd stance pressure. At least this time he gets to go to phase 2, but then we just break him out of the sword rain, save the pickle. God bless stance damage. Might as well beat down the Putrid Avatar and the Dragon Barrel. I like the physic tier it drops, specifically the damage reduction tier. Oh, and put on another timer. Grail gets bodied. The sword is so good at hitting the head, and that huge load of runes can get us to start cranking our vigor up to 55. God, I love a mono strength build. It really is my favorite thing. Pops off early, stays good late game. There's no downside. For buying lands, old Jonald Tronald is somehow more of of a Warhawk than Mr. Brandon? How the hell are you worse on that, Jonald? Brandon is terrible. Jeepers, that's a bummer. Just two awful options, one of which goes the extra mile in Terrible Town. Thanks to the Smithing Stone bell bearing in the mountaintops of the Giants, our greatsword is even greater. Good lord, it really only was half as strong as it could be. Also, remember, our Spirit Ashes have one lower level than the previous runs because of the Grave 6 we got in the Warded Catacombs. So when we hit the Giant Conquering Hero's grave, they'll finally be equal. Have you noticed a difference between a +6 and a +7? I haven't. Spirit Ashes are really just gravy on your build. It's more flavor and makes things a little better, but you still need a solid piece of meat underneath it. And Radahn Knight, it's some grade A beef. Now, I believe the Fire Giant has beef, so let's bring the ruckus. Redmane Knights aren't nothing to fight, because they're good at fighting. We don't need to bring the upgraded soldiers. Don't have to. The damage is just cracked as we hack away at the toes in both phases. Redmane Knights are for the children. Pharaoh Missoula looks like it's seen better days, and today is the worst one yet. 4v2 against the Godskin duo. Bernie really does feel like an honorary Redmane. Weirdly, we just hit the Apostle first. I generally always try to do the Noble, but sometimes the enemy AI just really wants to send a noodle at you. No difference to me. I beat them in any order they like. With that, our sword can be fully maxed out, but that doesn't mean it's got maximum power. For that, we need to grab the power of our boss from deep inside Alexander's guts. For that, we have to talk to him at the movie theater screening of Dune 2, Dune It Doggy Style. I think that's the subtitle. Now that we've Dune it in the sand, let's Dune it in a hot tub, and then we can start Dune it in Pharaoh Missoula. Poor Alex just gets cracked by our cracked damage. Pour some physic out for a real one, gamers. That's the Jar Shard and 15% more damage on the Lion's Claw.
I don't need one other thing! Not one! I need this!
Bird running is fine. You think a bird could beat a lion, but it's time for a real cat fight. Every time I say Garank is a cat, people say he's a dog. Every time I say he's a dog, people say he's a cat. Easy fix.
Cat dog. Cat dog.
Believe it or not, the giant heavy sword solves the reach problem in phase 1. Phase 2 is easier if the damage is turned up super high. Just flip a few times, get a stance break, and crit. No more Malekith. It's simple. After a little pickle grinding, we're in the Ashen Capital. Lion's Claw makes Gideon an absolute chump. He was already a chump, so less than a chump. He's just a chub. But the real test is beating Godfrey in 3 minutes or less. That's a real boss with a real health bar. And also his stance can be broken and damage hurts him. The boss can be stance broken and is vulnerable to damage. It's weak to Lion's Claw. Pickle saved. For Radahn, we bust out the Fire Grease for a whopping extra 85 fire damage. That's 85, that's it? Well, at least we can get the full 85 extra damage since Radahn has 0 fire defense. And that's per hit, so if we be aggressive, it should end up making a big difference. It kinda does. I don't reapply the grease against the Elden Beast, mostly because I don't want to farm ingredients for 85 extra damage, especially when our damage is already this absurd. Our boys die, but we still have almost all of our flasks left. Big crit almost gets us the win, but it takes a few more hits. Let's just pretend the crit did it. We can all just believe that together. No deaths from the capital to the end of the Elden Beast. Could this be our first deathless run? No, remember we died when farming. But one death would still be the least we've ever had if we can just keep it together for the super bosses. Before we finish things off though, I feel a little dirty using Godrick's Great Rune, so let's swap it for Radahn's Great Rune instead at the Divine Tower of Caelid. My god, look at the size of those bars at the top of the screen. Placidusax time, he doesn't want to sit still today, but we've got Lion's Claw, and we just use it a bunch on his back door. Our soldiers die almost instantly. Spirit Ashes do not like AoEs. Stance break at the crit in the TP phase, that's the power of stance, baby. And he faces the right way for the Omega laser. God bless him. Radahn charges through the castle's hole. I believe Nile is a Malenia stand, so let's bash him up with our boys. They focus on the Shield Knight so we can start on Nile early, making the rest of the fight kinda just a formality. Hey old man, check out this flip.
Oh no, he died!
Well, you can't make a consecrated snowfield omelet without cracking a few old men's eggs. I said Clawflick was the best tool for NPCs, but as we crack open the Penguin Noble, I think Lion's Claw might also be a contender. Weird that they both have Claw in the name. Oh, Claws are also really good against NPCs. They're like Claw R1 dash attack? Something about Claws and NPCs don't mix. Moog can be tricky, but generally, if you got the deeps, Moogs goes to sleeps, and this build has deeps out the wazoo. We flip him faster than White Mask's X would flip on the FBI, showing up with a warrant for his hard drive. Bodied. Carry in study hall, flip that, reverse it, then hug Fia. Hugs are rad. Fortisax is less rad, but it can be over pretty quickly if you charge those toes with some running R2s and a greatsword. Even then it's annoying, but at least it's over quickly. Liturgical Town, Haligtree. These are things we must do to fight Loretta. Swag jump is optional, but is it? Is it really? Not if you have swag. Loretta gets fully bullied into a corner. Like, I feel bad. I honestly do, but I'm making this sentence last longer so you can see how quickly we beat Loretta by just putting her in a corner and not letting her leave. That is our penultimate boss, and we are still rocking one blemish death on our record. No deaths in Elphiel either. Can we first try Malenia, Blade of Mikola? Well, I put on the shield just in case. We lube up with some fire, then back up to summon the boys, who she just carves up to undo any amount of damage we put on her. Honestly, they made the first attempt harder. Then we wait for our windows for some R1s. We are out of magic already because someone forgot to bring blue juice. Someone who will remain nameless. But we still make it to phase 2. Can we win with just like a greatsword? Attack of the Clones is scary, but we'll just back off and wait for our openings. Second Onion, a stance break, and then run from those clones again. Careful timing is enough to get us a first try win, and it was honestly probably just harder and longer because we gave her 2 soldiers to drink. In 6 hours and 1 minute, we beat 32 bosses and only died once. That's the least deaths we've ever had in any run, not just the soldier runs, any run. So it obviously has to be the best death to boss ratio and the best average death time, 2 of our 3 metrics. But the dang farming at the beginning made it too slow. It's still better than all the other soldiers so far, but it's behind a Zuko in S tier just because the boss times were really hurt by that farming. Lion's Claw is sick, great swords are awesome, and armor is good. Really keeping it simple and grabbing a better Ash of War is all that it took to put this above the Soldier of God, Rick. But now, we're ditching the Knight's Greatsword for our next run. It's time to get royal.
And we'll never be royal.
For this one, we're modeling our little samurai after the Elden Lord. Ah, shit, that joke only works with text. There's an extra E at the end. It's a Lord reference, everyone. Why start as a samurai this time? Well, when I think of Royal Knights, I think of Kristoff. So this time, we're gonna use the Partisan.
But Phil, won't that impact the run by being a different weapon, so it would be an objective measurement of...
I suggest you don't worry about this sort of thing and just enjoy yourself. That goes for you all, too. Yes.
For real though, there is so much chaos in these runs just because of the farming, and why do I feel a sense of impending dread? Are we all feeling the impending dread in the air? Sorry, not the impending dread that's been there for like a decade or more. The new, fresh impending dread. Our farm is up in Altus, so it's time for some early game boogie. First to the Third Church of America. It's a nice hub betwixt Dectus pieces and gives us the Physic Flask. That's the first piece to let us imagine supporting a monarchy in fort height. Ew, I don't want to do that. Next piece is in the Dragon Barrow, so warpy warp and then dive into the fort of Feroth before warping out. Just kidding, we died to rats. We are currently tied with Rat Dan's deaths. As long as we're here and we started Samurai, might as well just carve up that dragon now, right? No reason not to. Crank that vigor for life. That's not me saying I'm a member of some sort of vigor-based gang for the duration of my life. I am literally saying vigor gives you life, but also vigor gang for life. Some dude came in chat and got mad that I was telling people how to play the game because I said they should level vigor. God damn, people are sensitive. Can't even imagine what kind of a player would get so angry about being told vigor is important. Well, I could imagine it, but I couldn't spell it. Warpy warp through Lernia, then fight the dragon because we don't have our gear yet. For that, we have to head to Altus, and gamers, that impending dread is getting thick. This is the worst farm forever. Not in terms of technique, not in terms of death. We park it by Altus Highway and then run down to hack up the Royal Knight on the horse. It's easier to fight one on a horse because it's not using the shield on the horse, and also this one's kind of more separate from other soldiers. Not totally, but kind of. This is just a bad farm though, because luck is terrible. When I say we spent literal days doing this, that is not an exaggeration. Kind of. Basically, the game has a day-night cycle, and that matters here because this knight only spawns during the day. At night, the knight is replaced with a knight's cavalry. Lots of knight in that sentence, but we're not there yet. That takes time. A lot of in-game time. First, we feel good because the Partisan drops at number 8, or War Turtle if you're counting with Pokemon. Pretty great luck there, actually. So we get to take a break to go level it up. Raya Lucaria Crystal Tunnel, I wish I knew how to quit you. I guess there are other ways to get smithing stones 1, 2, and 3, but this is the best place to do it. Partisan has a better charge attack than other spears. It doesn't force you to charge forward, and it just does slash damage, which I guess is weaker than pierce damage, I would probably say. But I like that I don't charge forward. It also gives you a second damage type if you need it. Pretty neat. Though I don't really love spears, to be honest. A little low in the poise department for me. Still good enough for the Crystallion though. Step 2, we ascend further into Altus. What do we have? 10 or more permanents on the board or something? A little Magic the Gathering thing for you there. We don't, but we do have a sealed tunnel where we can get down with the second Smithing Stone Bell Bearing and get a few Smithing Stone 5s. Onyx Lord gets comboed with jump attacks and charged attacks. Unfortunately, light attacks don't interrupt its poise, but those runes give us enough money to upgrade the spear and make the farm a little easier. It should go smoother here. We even get another drop at number 9, Blastoise, a shield. Cool. Love a shield. We will use it for sure. Definitely won't feel obligated to put it on our back and just never use it. Second detour, we go get the Lance Talisman to do 15% more damage on horseback. It kind of rules for this fight. Other than Draconic Tree Sentinels and Radahn, horseback fights in game work better when you are also on horseback. Number 12, we get a second shield. Now we can put them both on at the same time, I guess. That's Butterfree for the Pokemon counters, of course. On Pidgey, number 16, we get a double drop, a Partisan, and a shield.
I'm mad at myself, and I'm mad at him.
Something wild. We started as a samurai, which actually has better arcane than the Vagabond by like 1 point. Our odds are marginally better though. Our first piece of armor still doesn't drop till number 27, Sandshrew, where we get some pants. And then we get the armor at 29, Nidoran female. It's not that bad, Phil. Why are you complaining so much? Nidorino, number 33, gives us another shield. Worth noting that Nidorino is the basic drop rate. Around 1 in 33, it's technically 3%, so like 3 forever, but you get it. We passed that a little bit, but not too far. It's still fine. Sun's getting a little low though. Golbat drops a 4th shield, that's number 42, in case we need 2 for each foot. And then on 43, it's too late. The Knight's Cavalry is here too. Oh no, what will we do? Just pass the time. It's fine. All we need is some handies and some head. Can I please get some head? Please? Or even just a handy if you don't want to do that. At 52, we get our 3rd Partisan. That's Meowth. More like I'm gonna pour some bleach down Meowth, because on number 54, Psyduck, we get our 5th shield. More like Psyduck, drown me in a lake. And a second pair of pants on number 56, which is Mankey. Poliwhirl, number 61, drops a 3rd set of pants. I feel my soul poly whirling into the depths of hell. Abracadabra, number 64, gives us shield, number 6. And then we get nothing at 66 Machop, but that is officially double the average odds. Actually, technically, no, not until Machoke at 67 because of rounding. This run is Machoking. Bellsprout wouldn't let us down. Surely, number 69, for a good reason.
If you know what I'm talking about.
No, nothing. But Weeping Bell gives us a 7th shield. That shield has a 10% drop rate for us so far. 77 is Ponyta for another shield, baby. Staying consistent. So after 79 Slowpoke, I decide we're gonna go get another boost to our discovery here. The Silver Pickles from Lernia, that'll boost our item discovery by 50 points, and we should be able to get around 3 pulls every time we eat a pickle. Surely that will turn the odds in our favor for some head and some hands. 82 is Magneton. That's another Gilded Great Shield. At 84, we get another duo drop. It's a Partisan and a set of armor. Number 86 is Seal, or should I say Shield, because it's another fucking shield. All 3 pickles are gone by Pokemon number 89. It's added up to...
big fat load of welcome then.
I guess we could talk about how we're getting some extra levels here, but even there, we hit a point of diminishing returns. Think about it. We're killing 1 guy in Altus. It's not that many runes. I guess it's more than killing a guy in Limgrave, but like, I don't know, stubbing your toe in the mountaintops of the Giants gets you more runes than killing a guy in Limgrave. At 91 Cloister, we get another spear. Lovely. Number 100, we have tripled the average odds to get the armor pieces to drop, and we are still missing half of them. But don't worry, my favorite Pokemon, Marowak, we get another drop. It's another shield. Here's what's actually hilarious. The game was waiting for the funniest Pokemon to possibly drop on, because the gloves drop on number 106, which is Hitmonchan, the boxing Pokemon. The boxing Pokemon gives us gloves. Then, after all this time, and I am not joking here, we get the head on number 108, which is Lickitung. We got gloves from Hitmonchan and a head from Lickitung.
The Lord works in mysterious ways.
It took 3 hours of real life time and 2 hours and 40 minutes of in-game time to finish the farming, which means this is the slowest farm so far by about 2 hours. Let's go get our soldiers and pretend this build has any shot of staying competitive. Black Knife Assassin is blocking the Sainted Hero's grave, and we get grabbed right away. Oof, she's just so nimble. It's hard to find windows in, and we almost bite it, but I'm not gonna lose to an Altus boss, wasn't even close. Now the Hero's grave is fun, but I goofed. We didn't actually need to fall through the floor and fight the Deacons of the Imp. The Royal Knight soldiers are actually in the room before you drop off. Whoops. We can run back, go grab the Spirit Ashes, and run out safely. Mission success. Time to upgrade those buddies. First to the Weeping Peninsula. There's a bunch of flask upgrades we can scoop up on the way to the Tombswort Catacombs, so we might as well grab them. But then, we're here for some really quick Graveworts 1 and 2. We'll hit the Caelid Catacombs by falling down near Celia for another Sacred Tear in the Church of the Plague. Then Ghosties 3, 4, and 5 from the Caelid Catacombs really fast. On the way to Gelmir, might as well beat up Gilka for the Ritual Sword Talisman. We'll have a solid ranged option later in the build, and if the soldiers can pull aggro, we should stay at full health pretty much all the time. Finally, we end up in Gelmir Hero's grave for the Grave 6 and 7. Sure, the field trip to level up the soldiers took about 20 minutes, but it's an 8-hour run. Did your dad get mad at you when you had to pee on an 8-hour road trip because it added 10 minutes to the 8 hours? Your dad's an asshole. Let your children pee, people. Abandoned cave, so we get abandoned paid. We still have Impaling Thrust on the Partisan, which is great for the guard that blocks, until we get impaled by the Spear Knight. Ouch. Still fine, having the extra soldiers makes it work out pretty great. Before I say we're officially getting started, we're farming some runes in the Dragon Barrel with the Putrid Avatar. We need 34 strength to put the Golden Great Shield in our offhand, not to mention the extra endurance to stay in medium load. Then my food delivery arrived 10 minutes early, so we quit out, but back with a vengeance and a belly full of butter chicken. Let's beat the hell out of a tree. Our damage isn't great. Spears aren't really made to do damage. They're meant to have reach and reach around shields. Maybe you enjoy the reach around gameplay, but personally I like to get face to face. Put a 3-minute timer on for Grail. Pierce is better against dragons than it is against trees, and we can hit the head from the ground without jumping. It's actually easier than hitting it with jumping because spear jumping attacks kinda suck. Still not enough runes, but hey, we can't delay forever. Time to do the pre-capital storming business. That's right, kids, get your zip ties ready and prepare to say it was actually Antifa or the feds, but also that everyone there was a patriot and it was good. It's time to practice storming the gates at Stormvale. Highly leveled gear is so helpful against Margit because he really isn't scaled for it. We just sort of trample over him, getting a big crit that lets us get the win before he even starts monologuing about how we have passing skill or whatever. Then Gostock just sort of lets us walk through the gates and we still beat the hell out of him. The history book on its shelf, always repeating itself. That all weapons run did really well. I think it was because of the absurd length, but on the off chance it was the ABBA needle drops, I don't want to risk it. We'll just do both. Stay tuned for our max level run where I find a way to shove Fernando in there. Briefly get lost on the danger path, sort of feels like we can kind of just walk all around this government building without any consequence. Weird. Open the fog gate and pick up the iron wet blade. Despite investing in strength early and wearing gold, the color of Faith builds, Royal Knights are really a dex build. They use lightning and lightning ashes of War all scale with dexterity. Isn't that weird? Godrick time, we're playing it so smooth until we get hit, but the high level weapon damage is pretty great. Our soldiers are also here. I like their big shields, it keeps them alive longer, and they still remember to poke around the shield, unlike Kristoff. I've always found him to be a bit of a disappointment. No shade to the Kristoff enjoyers, of course. Still not as good as the Great Shield Soldier Ashes, since there's 5 of them and they constantly bash with those shields to keep up aggro and pressure, but you know, these dudes are doing their part. The Godrick Great Rune is going to be massively helpful, giving us +5 to every stat. Maybe we should swap for Morgoth's Great Rune later, but in my opinion, the Royal Knights are all Godwin's pals. Morgoth is just the new boss that they all clown on. The stars are aligned for the Radahn Festival, but I forgot to get patches, so let's do that for some pickles. Nerd Juice gets the shield poke treatment, but it doesn't really reduce status buildup, kind of just slows the spear down, and for some reason poking around the shield whiffs a lot against the person who is currently right next to us attacking our shield. Neat. I forgot Patches cheats and has the Kick Ash of War on his shield. Then he gets deep in our guts, because if you have a shield up and it gets kicked, you get crit. So then I put the shield away. And we win! Anyway, now we can fight Radahn. I'm doing a bad job on the horse and we keep getting shot. If only there were a way to skip the arrow phase. We get everyone together and start poking, then get a crit, which is weird. Radahn is hard to crit. Phase 2 goes fine, just kill him before he can hit you. I don't know why we saved Raya Lucaria for after Radahn, but we did, so it makes the dog die really fast. The spear misses Renala when she's on the ground, great weapon, still a 2 cycle, and then she becomes the moon, so we bring the boys down to distract her spirit ashes while we focus on the boss. If I had to describe how this build feels in a word so far, that word would be fine. Not bad, not good, fine. I tried to use the shield against Bogart. He does have 100% physical damage, but like, bye-bye stamina. And when you try to guard counter, it's slower than everyone else's attacks, so you just get hit. Just kind of seems like it doesn't really work. I'm not dunking on it because I hate shield enjoyers. I'm dunking on it because I'm trying to make it work, and it isn't working. This is never personal and never meant to make you feel like you can't play the game how you like. I am talking about my experiences with the game. I like having long hair. It's warm in the winter, and I can cool myself off in the summer by putting it up. That doesn't mean I hate you if you have short hair. Anyway, Godskin Noble, the shield is actually great for the rollout. It's way easier than dodging. Credit where it's due. If you have short hair, you can wear hats easier. Maybe you like hats. The shield would be helpful against Rykard to block the snake quick, and he does go for the snake quick in phase 1. But the shield would put us in heavy load, so I just block it with the Serpent Hunter and it's fine. Still takes some damage, but it's a manageable amount. Our build is sort of quality spec right now, balanced between dex and strength, so the Serpent Hunter hits pretty hard. Wait, why am I narrating the Rykard fight? Down Rad Dan's hole, we can fight the Soldier of Roy, Al, an exciting boss that we poke behind a big shield. It's just slower than two-handing, but whatever. It's a place I can say I use the shield. Things are getting lit in the underground, and by things, I mean torches. They are things. A torch is a noun. Regal Ancestor Spirit literally teleports away before it did anything. Somehow, Spear is bad at hitting the spindly legs? Isn't it supposed to reach? Moose Rollout, another great opportunity for the shield. Is it worth having a 17-pound weight on your back? No. It's there so we can throw it off like Piccolo when shit gets serious. The fight is a war of attrition, but eventually we win. Not totally sure why I decided to kill the Alberneric. I think it was just because I can grab the Dex tier on the way, but like, this Grace is so much further away from Carrier Manor than Temple Quarter that we eventually just warped to Temple Quarter and still save time. Oh well. Now how would a royal carry a capital? They'd just hire/force a bunch of workers to do it. Sadly, probably the most efficient method I've described so far. Get someone else to do it is also the Ronnie problem-solving solution. Need a Godwin dead? Call the Black Knights. Need Blythe to go away? Make Iji, put him in a kennel. Need the Elden Beast dead? Get a Tarnished to do it. True girl bosses always delegate. On our way through the Incel Rivermain, the shield will help us with the Astel Jr. It's never a problem, but this time, it's less of a problem. Then we sprint through Noxtella and the Lake of Rot. Astel is waiting at the bottom, just being like a guy. A remembrance guy, so we gotta get him. And he's gonna teleport. And do the gravity. He really just hits every get off me button until we finally get a stance break right at the end with no flasks left. Way too close for Astel. Valiant Gargoyles are always better with buddies, but Pierce is one of their better defenses. Oh, and we're not using the Lightning Strike Ash of War since that's the one on the Great Sword Knight sword, and we're the Partisan Knight. Literally just to mix it up. Speaking of getting mixed up, we get boxed into a corner and killed by gargoyles. Wow, we're only halfway through the run, and we've already died twice as many times as the Rad Dan run, doubled from 1 to 2.
Yup.
Second try gargoyles are dead. There's 2 of them, makes sense that it takes 2 attempts. Deep root depths. Did you know spears are great tools for popping balloons? Balloons are easy to pop. It's not actually that much of an endorsement. And remember, you can't spell endorsement without semen. Speaking of semen, Fia's simps are blocking our access to the capital. Tried to use the shield, it got us hit a lot. Oof. So against Rogier, it's back to 2-handing. More damage is good. Initiative fix by hitting the twink first, then poise boys while our soldiers bother Lionel. It does not go well. We keep getting whiffed and then punished. Our soldiers are dead, and we get to press circle. Some of you sick freaks like NPC bosses, and I don't know why. I'd get it if they didn't have literally infinite stamina and mind. Actually, no, I think it would still be bad, but I wouldn't hate it as much. My biggest boss design pet peeve is wasting time just running, and god damn, does Lionel love to make you run. Then the spear whiffs a couple more times, we get punished and die. Let's try it again. We can get the spear to land the attacks when the enemies are close to us, it would go a little better, but also every hit will have to be a trade with Lionel. Spear doesn't interrupt poise, so even if we do time it right, we still lose. And sometimes you just get your spear to connect, and the game says, despite going through the enemy hitbox, it didn't actually connect. It comes down to 1 hit between us and Lionel again, but we wait for him to make a move, and he finally does. Good lord, Fia's champs were a problem. I guess, we've still only died 3 times, but god damn, Fia's champs? 2 more deaths in this section. It's not totally terrible. What is terrible is in the time it took us to farm the gear in the first section, we were able to beat the Cleanrots, the Putrid Avatar, Grail, Margit, Godrick Patches, Radahn, Redwolf, Renala, Godskin Noble, Rykard, Mimic Tier, Regal Cinema Spirit, Loretta, Astel, Valiant Gargoyles, and Fia's champs, 17 bosses in 3 hours, or a boss almost every 10 minutes. But the farm really just sort of killed this run before it got started. I'm so angry, I could just, I don't know, commit treason.
Infiltrates! Stop the gates!
Happy Royal Capital, everyone! We didn't want Morgoth after Godwin left, and it shouldn't matter if he got more votes. The Dung Eater is our man, and we'll make him the ruler of Lyndell no matter what the law says. Besides, Patches told me he saw 2,000 Leonards stuffing runes into ballot boxes, and I trust Patches. He says all the things I already want to be true. This Erdtree avatar has to get poked first. I want that Lord's rune because Lord knows we had to spend a lot of runes putting this shield on our back that I don't like or use. But then, on our way to the Thunderbolt Ash of War, we get grabbed by the Ghoulies. A really rare experience. I like to do jokes for 4 people. If you're one of the 4, congrats. Thunderbolt should help us out. It's honed bolt, except it's already at full speed. No Radagon icon or 70 virtual dexterity required. But you can level up your dex to make it do more damage. You also don't have to level faith to make it do more damage. When we warp back to the Round Table Hold, Ensha attacks.
I apologize, I forgot you were there.
Now, since Thunderbolt Ash of War scales with your dexterity scaling, it can actually work better on a Keen infusion than a Lightning infusion since Keen has more dex scaling. Lightning still has dex scaling, just less. Godfrey Shade is weakest to Lightning, 0 Lightning defense. We bring out the boys and start shocking. It's pretty good. Maybe try the shield too, but his attacks are all overhead, so they still sorta hit us. You can't even use it on the Mr. Physical Damage fight. Thankfully, Thunderbolt is an awesome spell, and when our boys distract him, we can make it rain. Thunder. God, I love spells, especially the ones that go on weapons. Morgoth time, can we do it in 3 minutes? Well, he's not as weak to lightning and the damage isn't this build's strong suit. This is more of a tank with a big shield and a ranged option to hide in the back. It's all about playing it safe. We get grabbed in phase 2 and hey, the pickle is gone. This is the first knight to fail getting the double pickle, and I think it's also a place to note the best defense is a good offense. The other builds also ended up using less healing flasks because they killed Morgoth faster. If you want to live more, hit the boss harder. If you want to hit the boss harder, bump your vigor. Counterintuitive, but it's really what you need. 4 Biden lands, and oh my god, at least we'll get a 2028 election if old Brandon wins. Read up on Project 2025, that's the goal for Donald Trump, and it's terrifying. Like, I don't really think we can wait until 2028 to get started on climate change and not war criming, but better to start in 2028 than never getting to start, I guess. These prescient issues are what strikes and protests are for. By the way, protests don't involve, I don't know, violently pushing your way into a federal building. There is a distinction. Mountaintops time, get those stones and level that spear up for higher voltage. Speaking of higher voltage, let's dip back to Lernia to get some graces, buy the study hall for later, and more importantly, fight an Erdtree avatar. This is the one that drops the lightning shrouded cracked tier for 20% more lightning damage. Ooh, another big brain play, picking up the Margit shackle. We use that when we navigate the giant conquering hero's grave. For our final grave gloveworts of this run, we can just shut off that flame column and don't have to fight the fire monk. Brilliant. Fire Giant, the lightning is a nice backup option for when it rolls away. The range is pretty nuts. In phase 2, we just unload like Zeus on a woman who thought she was having a fun consensual night with a swan. Run out of FP and just start poking. The Partisan is such a great casting catalyst because unlike other catalysts, you still have options when you run out of FP. Sure, you can only memorize one spell for it, but let's be honest, most bosses you're only using one spell anyway. Ferret Missoula has a lot of lightning, but I'm not worried about it. Actually, Lightning Lass is a valued member of our community. She deserves better than this build. Godskin Noble stabs us too much. We died. Try again and stand further away. Thunderbolt is pretty good to punish the rollout, and we can fix the initiative to be 2v1 for like a second. Then it's 2v2 again, but the Noble is on the other side, so it's fine. Just need some runes to level up the spear, so let's poke the Knight's Cavalry. They're weak to lightning. Get it off the horse, stab it on the ground. That's a maxed out spear. For the highest voltage we can have, let's turn up the lightning even further. Talking to Alex in Dune 3, Arrakis Drift. Then in the hot tub, something they need to add in Dune 3. There is precisely not enough hot tubs in the Dune movie. I don't know, I haven't seen them. What movie wouldn't be improved with a hot tub though? Alex probably resists piercing damage, but it's Alex. Dude's awesome, but not great at fighting. Really the Krillin of Elden Ring. The Jar Shard gives us 15% more damage with Thunderbolt. It's like Magnet on a Pokemon. Malekith should be interesting. He's aggressive, so I don't think he'll let us just throw lightning bolts at him, but if the soldiers can pull aggro, we should get to spam. It works out great. We even get a crit in phase 2, since each bolt has 5 stance damage. Not a lot on an individual hit, but if you're spamming, eventually it stacks up. Do you know what happens to a cat dog when it gets struck by lightning?
The same thing that happens to everything else.
Gideon should be pretty free. Spears can sort of just walk forward and hit the poke button. We are using the lightning infusion instead of Keen. Keen will make the Ash of War do more damage, but with lightning, each hit is boosted by the physic tier. We died though. His counterattack popped, but it didn't make him flinch, so he blasted us at the same time. Weird. Fighting Gideon a second time is not ideal. He starts aggro and you have to find your way in. Also, the soldiers were like sleeping or something for the first bit. Once they get in, we can just blast him with Thunderbolt. It works so much better. Comes out faster than he can chug his flask. Spells rock. Godfrey time, can we do it fast enough? Maybe. Weirdly, the earthquakes are a great time to get our lightning off. But when we do run out of magic, I start going for the crit and we get it before the phase transition. Bummer. He tries to daddy grabby both of our boys in phase 2, but they're not human. They can't be grabbed. We didn't save the pickle, but it's okay. At least we didn't die. Radagon doesn't have the best lightning resistance and Elden Beast is literally on the water. Should be pretty good here. I'm saving the magic for phase 2. Our spear is nice enough against old redhead here, and I don't really want him doing the counter darts. In phase 2, that big lightning damage gets boosted even higher by that water. You've seen Pokemon, you know that. The Elden Stars almost lock us into a super easy dodgeable explosion, but we made it through. Then we get another stance break and end it with Thunderbolts. Based and Pikachu pilled. Let's bring that lightning to the super bosses. We'll start this finish in the castle's hole. Lightning works great against the dudes as our boys keep them busy. Nile doesn't even have that great of lightning resistance. We do run out of mind, but the spear is a fine backup. That's why weapons are the best catalysts, remember? Then we go to Placidusax instead of anything we would do with the rolled medallion, I guess. He's weak to pierce. We really should have swapped back to a keen infusion, but I forgot. These runs aren't perfect. There are many other Elden Ring creators who are perfect. I hope that y'all like it a little messy. We get caught in the Omega Laser, and the shield pays off again. We've used it almost 10 times this run. Maybe.
I help.
Now we'll go to the consecrated snowfield and get invaded by Anastia because I walked too far forward. This is annoying. God, I hate NPCs. So let's just do another one right away. It's the Penguin Noble. We wait for him to walk into the spear. We'll even bully the Sanguine Noble in the cave to buy some more rune arcs. I'm a little less confident in this build. I mean, I've already died 5 times. Damn, this really is a Krillin situation, huh? Like, dude is insanely strong. When you're hanging out with the Goku that is Rad Dan and the Vegeta that is Rick, you sort of look like a chump. I guess that makes Ray Piccolo, of course. Mo goes all right. We can zap him once he starts looking at our soldiers. Why did you give yourself wings, my guy? Don't you know flying types don't like electricity? Time save for the viewers at home. Carrion Study Hall, hug Fia. There, I skipped it for you. Watch time is so important for the video, and I just cut it. for you. Maybe watch all 2.5 hours of this video again tomorrow to thank me for saving you those precious 20 seconds. Fortis Axe has big lightning resistance but terrible piercing resistance. However, hitting the toes is hard with the spear and hitting the head would be easy with the lightning. And then the head takes way more damage, so maybe it would be worth it. All that time thinking it's not good for your health, simply poke toes and leave. Don't sweat the Liturgical Town or the Haligtree. We might have to make up time for all the bad farming. Swag Jump 2 is landed, of course. Loretta is weakest to lightning, so I zap her. It's so free. Hey, that's also like Krillin. I have one move that's stupid OP and I forget to use it sometimes. Then we just gotta get through Elphiel, pick up the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman, and see if it flops against Malenia. Honestly, if it does well here, it could make up for the farming time by having less deaths. Start with some lightning. She really doesn't dodge it all that well. She usually dodges about a second too late, but for some reason my brain is seeing her dodge and thinking that means it missed. She also has 0 lightning defense once she's on the water, but she is slurping up our boys and not actually dealing damage to them. Their shields have 100% physical defense, but she heals when people block, so they're great distractions. We're just not keeping up with the DPS to match, and then we die. Also, that's 6 deaths, so it's now tied with Godrick and slower. Not a great sign. Attempt 2, we get duckied. I'm not shielding because I don't want her to heal. Then I die. That's also not good. Attempt 3, focus on Thunderbolts. It's a really decent solution and pulls her to look at us instead of the boys. Get her to land phase 2 Onion in the water and get a lot of lightning damage off. That she immediately heals by attacking our soldiers, bummer. Her health bar just goes up and down over and over and over again until another Onion. Then we get to crit and keep the pressure up enough to get another one for the win. It took 8 hours and 12 minutes to beat 37 bosses and die 7 times, which puts it in A tier, right behind Mesmer. But I'm not a dick. I know 2 hours of that was just because of poor farming luck. If you take those 2 hours off, it ends up right behind Radahn, which would be better than Rick. For this video, we'll put it above Rick, but not above the Ancestral Follower, mostly because it could have been so much better. Cut out that strength investment we used for the shield because we didn't need the shield. That gives you so much more room for endurance, vigor, and mind, all of which would have helped us out a lot. Thunderbolt is a great Ash of War, especially if you're using Spirit Ashes to tank the aggro, because it's literally just better Honed Bolt. It's Honed Bolt on one stat that gets boosted by the Jar Shard.
I think you're better than me.
I am better than you.
Just ditch the shield and everything will go better, which is kind of what we're doing with the next run. Welcome to the House of Mausoleum. Important to note, only the Steamboat Willie Mickey Mouse is public domain, which is why we made this masterpiece in character creation.
Corporate needs you to find the differences between this picture and this picture. They're the same picture.
We'll kick it as a vagabond this time because, I don't know. Really should have gone samurai. I just messed up. Cowabunga into Limgrave and get the horse because we're going right to Altus again. Hey Phil, there's a Mausoleum Knight you can farm and learn. Yeah, I know. We will, but like the Royal Knight, I think the Partisan version is the most representative of the Mausoleum Knight. Is that just because of Lutal? Yeah, but not actually. They have a unique Ash of War, Spectral Lance, which needs a spear. Original idea for this was another Knight's Greatsword run with Bloodhound Step, but I'll be real, I'd forget to use Bloodhound Step. I don't like messing with my dodge button. It's circle. It's been circle for 7 games now. I just want it to be circle. That all means that I'm just going to imagine Mickey Mouse in Fortnite. That's right. What are you gonna do? Public domain, bitch.
He has control of the Senate and the courts. He's too dangerous to be left alive.
We beat up Fortnite for the Bloody Slash. Disney is stronger than Fortnite. Anyway, onto the Dragon Barrow, get the other deck as Peace Warp out, and we're ready to ride. Use that Bloody Slash on the Dragon Toes for some basic amounts of Vigor and Arcane this time. Spectral Lance is an occult Ash of War and always scales with your Arcane no matter what infusion you put it on. It will also make the gear drop faster. And for whatever reason, I would like better farming this time. Learning is a simple test of zooming, and we zoom. There's a Mausoleum Knight by the Big Turtle, but they have a bunch of other little soldiers with them. I don't want to do that. Instead, we run around the rest of the Bellum Highway to the Sauron Tower and just hop up the embankment before hacking the dudes up at the top. Then drop down by the Minor Erdtree and follow the path up to the Black Knife Catacombs to fight the one Mausoleum Knight by itself. That one doesn't have the Partisan. Yeah, this was a mistake. We hit it once, it doesn't drop anything, so we just go to Altus. Mamma mia, here we go again. It's the same knight we farmed in the Royal Run, but we don't have a katana this time, and we knock him off the horse? Without killing the horse? You can stance break horses? I've never done that. And I didn't think you could, but we do it over and over again. Second farm, we get the head.
Why are you fucking with me? Why are you fucking with me?
But like, Why do the horses take 20 hits to stance break, but ours breaks in 2 hits? Why? Sorry, this highway just stresses me out. The vibes are atrocious. Yeah, broadsword, longsword, whatever this goddamn sword is, it's not as good at farming these dudes as the katana is. Bleed is helpful. Armor drops on 7, armor we're not gonna use. Partisan drops on 9, it's not that bad. That's Blastoise, obviously. So now we can level that up and start getting everything else going. After hitting up Raya Lucaria for the Spectral Lance, imagine the Backstreet Boys, but one of them was spooky. That's Danny I've described Danny Phantom. How many dogs guard the beetle? 4 dogs? Are you kidding me? Yes, they are, because it's 5 dogs. I can fly on dog. Hey, FromSoft? Too many dogs. Is it 6? Wait. How? Okay, we gotta work smarter. We gotta bait them away. Gotta funnel them down a hallway. Nope, that didn't really work. We have not fixed initiative at all. 1 dog dead. 2 dogs dead. 3, 4 dogs dead. 5 dogs dead. Was it only 5 dogs? Was I right? What, the first time? Yeah, completely reasonable amount of dogs. With Deacons of the Doge defeated, we grab the Spectral Lance, a very cool Ash of War that I will enjoy. We're also going to grab the Wet Blade. I don't know why this one gets to do it. I forgot to with the other ones, but oh well. One more round against the Knight out there. We can test the Spectral Lance. It does piercing damage, comes out pretty fast, and has a big range. 25 stance pressure, and tends to work better if you've actually leveled your weapon up. Now, if you're asking, how will you get Deathblight on your weapon? Well, we won't. We can't. Bad news. Good news, though, it wouldn't do anything for us. Even Gideon can't get Death Blighted. It can only affect us. Very fair game. Raya Lucaria Crystal Tunnel, oh how I've missed you. Get to the bottom, yada yada yada. One Knight trolls us. No, we have to hit them with our attacks. No, we have to crit them when we stand in front of them and they have the crit option. Okay, let's try again. No. Okay. One more try. Tarnished. Okay. It's fine. Sometimes the Tarnished doesn't follow orders well. Oh well, we yeet at the Crystallion, its stance breaks with 1 more hit. Nasty. 25 stance pressure on a ranged attack is insane. That's more than Gavel of Haima, but on the other side of a football field. It is truly a great spell, and spears are the best catalysts in the game. Think about it, all the great spells you can cast with a spear. Ice Spear, Thunderbolt, Spectral Lance, Stormcaller, Black Flame Tornado, all for around 15 dex and strength. Most characters can use those fantastic spells from the start of the game, just by grabbing a spear. Amazing. Sealed Tunnel is sealed for quality, because wow, this tunnel gives you some good stuff. Smithing Stone Bell Bearing 2, great. Smithing Stone 5s, great. Free Gold Pickle, I love it. I kept trying to get close to the Onyx Lord, but the solution was so much easier. Yeet. Simply yeet. Oh, and headshots do more damage too. This thing is so funny. It also does 5 times your weapon's normal poise damage on a hit to interrupt a ton of boss's moves. Now we can take this upgraded spear to farm. Oh, sometimes the spear misses the Knight because it's aiming for the head, and they don't have a head. Good news is though, this is a super safe farm. With our high vigor, we can't really lose. Charizard, or number 6, drops the pants. High Arcane is already paying off. It's a Lernia scale enemy. There's no danger here. Blastoise, number 9, we get the hands and the greatsword at the same time. Maybe we'll use it later, probably not. I really like the spear. Anyway, we won't die. Ah!
Are you sure about that?
Oh shit, I forgot about the Deathblight. Oh yeah. Deathblight's a thing, huh? We get the armor on number 19, Rattata. Because the Mausoleum soldiers and knights are decapitated, there's no helmet for us.
So no head?
Makes farming a little easier, and just like, it's so cool. We're sprinting to get the soldiers, but first I'll stretch out the Cleanrot Knights. The spear is so fun with them, even though we run out of mine. Then we just gotta hit them with the catalyst. It's fine. Now we'll get paid more. Even though we don't have a spear dash yet, I'm hitting up the Weeping Peninsula early. I just want some of these sacred tears, but also I can justify it by grabbing the Grave Gloveworts. With all that done, we bum rush Radahn. We have to get to Deeproot for our soldiers, and that's why there hasn't been a section change yet. Radahn is part of this build's setup and kind of a preview of how this build will work. We summon a ton of allies who smack up the boss while we just yeet in absurd amounts of stance pressure. Seems like it's gonna be a winning strategy. A cowardly strategy? For sure, but a solid one. Soldier of Mausoleum is next, and he can't attack. We just kind of win. Bummer, buddy. Get bullied, dork. Imagine getting absolutely clowned on over and over again. Couldn't be me. So, if you ever wanted to fight the Valiant Gargoyles as your 6th boss in a run with piercing damage, might I recommend not doing that? This is terrible. We are barely putting a dent in with each hit, and when we fight at melee range, the spear whiffs the spindly legs all the time. There is no backup for us. We are doing this to get to the backup, so when the second one flies in, we kind of just suffer. I'm trying to run in as best I can to find a window for the spear, and sometimes we get them, but then we have to beat a gargoyle with no flasks, and these hitboxes and hurt boxes on the gargoyles are just so janky. Having to do this so early might single-handedly break this run and put it into last place. I guess Lyndell is technically a Deeproot Knight. We could go pick her up, but that doesn't feel fair. Radahn doesn't get Onma, Ray didn't get a battle mage, everyone else is getting their tiny soldiers. So does Liam, and that means it's time to die. A lot, and not quickly, slowly. Bad thing about 40 Vigor, they have to kill 40 Vigor, so all these fights are long. Describing it as chip damage might be too generous. This is crumb damage. This is the air at the top of the bag of chips damage. Honestly, one of these things would be an irritating boss. So many of their moves just connect when they feel like they really didn't, and so many of your attacks will whiff when they feel like they didn't. It's demoralizing in a very unique way. At least other FromSoft gargoyle ganks have bodies that land next to you and take damage. Putting these on stilts was the cruelest prank. Like, why does their win box do a quarter of our health and damage? But Fortisax is a boss that's in Deeproot behind these guys and is a dragon and doesn't do damage with his win. Also, not doing D's quest because I forgot to kill him on the way to the 3rd church, and I don't really know where he is, and I didn't want to look it up. That's why. I know you can summon him, but I can't be fucked trying halfway around the world to get his armor and like put it in a toaster or something? I don't know. Maybe he should be more interesting if he wants me to learn how his quest works. I hate on Fia's quests and Ronnie's quests all the time, but at least I'm talking about them. Sorry to the D fans, but I can roast him or say I died again 12 times. And I'd rather say that 12 times. Finally, we get a good run where we hit enough spears on the first one and have some flasks left for the second one to deal with those questionable hitboxes. It wasn't even close. But now we have to climb out of a very deep hole and go into the deepest depths. Pop those ants, baby. Then we get to run to the edge of the cliff and get the Mausoleum soldiers. Are they going to be worth the struggle? No. But they are pretty cool. More ghost wort in the Caelid catacombs, and these dudes put ghost in ghost. They chopped off their heads to become ghosts.
Kappa is detated from his head.
So cool. Gilka is a nice speed bump and also great for inflating our boss number to fix the extra deaths. Google Gilka inflation on your work computer to find out more. Though the spear continues to let me down in terms of reach, I don't think it does have good reach. Why is it missing so much if it does? We also already talked to Alexander in the hot tub. That's gonna save some time later as long as I remember that we talked to Alex in the hot tub. After we hit the Gelmir hero's grave, we have enough grave wart for our soldiers, which means we're ready to Liam it up. By far the worst setup here. 12 deaths, though at least it was faster than the Lyndell Knight. Let's see how Liam does in the pre-capital section. It's time for the House of Mouse.
Liam, which Liam? Our Liam. He spent a night at the museum and all the mummies came alive and he had to raise and feed them.
Mark it first, there are 5 guys? They hit like they ate a bunch of burgers and fries. Do they all have great swords? How much damage are they doing? Excuse me? They hit harder than we do, and there are 5 of them. Look, I don't know how good this build is going to be on its own, but the Spirit Ashes might fully carry us. Body Gostock, run the danger path, and put Godrick on the danger path. We get him to phase 2 on the top of the stairs with the power of Yeet, then let 5 guys mess up his guts. Must be lactose intolerant. Probably one of the soldiers he grafted is. His BM's gotta be wild. Now we can jack up every stat, guilt-free. There isn't a great room for the Mausoleum. I think it would maybe be God Godwins. Maybe we'll get that in Shadow of the Erdtree. But I got this video done before that came out for a reason. Can you imagine if each of these runs had 5 more remembrances to do? That video would be excessively long, says the guy who made a video that was already excessively long. Raya Lucaria is so easy. The dog gets bullied, but it's fast enough that our soldiers aren't the one bullying it. It has to be us. Oh no. Renala next. I don't bother to check if Moongrum can parry the lance. Renala gets to live when we whiff her with the spear again on the floor, unmoving.
I missed.
What does that mean?
I missed.
Phase 2 is funny. The lance just breaks her so fast. It's silly. It's a silly spell in a silly game, and it's silly. And spells are good and silly and fun. Oh shoot, we do need more pickles. We'll hit up Nerd Juice from downtown. But it does also work when he gets close. I wanted to try and hit Patches on the top of the cliff, but he jumped down too fast. Oh well. At least that puts us back to a neutral KD boss ratio. It took us a second to line the spear up against Bogart since we had to free aim the first one, but eventually, we got it.
First try.
Raya, take us to your parents' house. The damn snake knocked me off the elevator. Why is he such a problem lately? I think sometimes FromSoft goes into my game and just buffs random enemies. You can't convince me otherwise. Godskin Noble time. Our buddies take the aggro and we just throw shit. The stance breaks are popping off. Just over and over again. Dude doesn't get to move. Rykard time, we use the Serpent Hunter. What a time. I do bring the 5 guys to hit him in the lava. Keeps them distracted in phase 1, but obviously they get melted. Tends to happen when you stand in lava. Regal's Cinema Spirit goes great with a ranged weapon. Seriously, the Tarnished is a Javelin Olympian. Look at that range. We come back and head into Caria Manor. Is this the House of Mausoleum? I already made that joke, but this is a long video, and sometimes we gotta put the preservatives in to keep it fresh. Spears are good against horses. They're even better when you can just stay back and throw them over a lake. Mausoleum Knights are the ghost types, and ghost on ghost is super effective. Hello, fellow ghosts, Ronnie, Sullivis, and Big Boy. I hope everyone is being nice to Big Boy. I would hate it if he felt like an outcast.
1, 2, 3.
Get the knife, deliver it, very cool. Incel Rivermain, I'm not sure if the Mausoleum Knights get down, but I know they don't get any head. Boogie through the Lake of Rot and then fight Astel with a ranged option. God bless. We get shot right away, but then it doesn't matter if the dude teleports. It doesn't matter if he does the bongos. It doesn't matter if he does the big gravity suck attack. We can just yeet and repeat. Fia's champs are back in the Deeproot Depths, our home, but we're the only ghosts haunting this house. Well, us and 5 guys. Such a scary ghost. Can you imagine a ghost that would charge you $25 for a burger and fries? Yeah, initiative fixing is the best method of handling the champs. 6v3 is a lovely ratio. No deaths since we grabbed the gear. At least no deaths on our end. Can we keep that great KD ratio going through the Elden Beast? Great band. Anyway, capital time. It's honestly kind of fun taking the Erdtree avatar to school, even if it's a little harder on a narrow street. At least it's not a putrid avatar with a big old shit cloud. Can you imagine fighting one of those in a narrow space? That'd be crazy. Second mini boss of the capital, it's the Grave Warden duo. We yeet. Break the stance and repeat. He delivered us the stance break. He walks up to us so we can stance break. Hilarious. Against the Godfrey Shade, our strategy comes to fruition. Back up, throw the lance. Such a great spell. And much like Thunderbolt, it works with the best catalyst in the game, a spear. Even though I don't technically love the spear moveset, I do think it gets the best spells. Against Morgott, we have 3 minutes. Did we make it?
It's too close to call.
Corey, zoom and enhance. We did it, gamers. We made it. As we run through the 4 Biden lands, it's a good time to remember that self-decapitation is not the ideal retirement plan in the US, but also Donald keeps floating cutting Social Security and Medicare, so retirement would be less attainable than it already was. Everything is bad, but it could get worse. Yay! Giant conquering hero's grave. We forgot to get the shackle, so we gotta fight another mini-boss, the Fire Monk in the closet. It goes fine. We grab all the grave warts and avoid getting murdered by the imps who were hiding behind a corner. Classic FromSoft joke. Speaking of jokes, the Fire Giant. Just kidding. I like this boss just fine. Some of his moves are a bit janky, but it's hard not to feel cool taking on a big old giant with your build. Honestly, that's my distinction between this and the Rykard fight. This one, you do with the build you've been setting up the whole time. Rykard, you just have to do the Serpent Hunter. In phase 2, we yeet the spear up at his face and head, and then get stun locked into Fire Breath. Never mind, I hate this boss. That's a joke, I hate that attack. Phase 2 again, he apparently has some pillars that knock us up as we hit him with a spear that breaks his stance. Weird transition there. Yeah, 25 stance pressure with range, absolutely silly spell. It's kind of like Stone of Garunk, but if you don't need casting speed to make it cast at a reasonable time. I wonder why FromSoft made the spells you use with the spear catalyst not require a dex investment. That's so weird. Farah Missoula is just like the Mausoleum Knight in that it also doesn't have a human head, at least none with skin. There are some skeletons. Godskin duo, and we have so many friends here. It's 7v2. Surely this will go great, especially if we back up and throw things. Even during the rollout, we're fine. The soldiers are all dead. They don't like AoEs, but Bernie and I can handle this. Dude is using the fire and strike damage against Godskin duo. Two of the worst damage types you could use against them, and he still clears. Great hammers are just such a great weapon type. They're so great, I'm praising them during a spear run.
This is brilliant. But I like this.
Spectral Lance also has utility outside of boss fights, like sniping dudes from a distance, so you don't have to get chased by them. Now, I should have trusted myself. I thought I talked to Alex, and I did. Remember? I talked about it earlier, but I doubted. We almost got wombo comboed by the Magma Worm when I went to go check. Yikes. Alex actually gets to show off some of his moves here. Spears aren't great at handling him. Some of being, like 2. Now we have the Jar Shard, and that spear will hit even harder as we yeet. Let's see that damage against Malakath while 5 guys mess up his guts. It's really nice. We end it from downtown. Gideon should be so free with the boys coming out, he just won't get to move. I can even get a little greedy. Ugh, now we have to try? I hate it here. I just want to press L2 and make the fight over. It's fine with a spear, you can just walk forward and press R1, but that's a different button than I've been pressing this run. How am I supposed to figure that out? Oh well, Godfrey time. The soldiers tank, and we get our stance break right before phase 2, which is a bit of a bummer. But I'm still keeping that pressure up, so we get another one. And then get grabbed. Pro tip, don't do that. Still fine. Big Vigor is cool. Radahn now, ranged attacks aren't the best here. He can parry them, but between our boys and our knowledge of the fight, we can just roll at the right time and get that win. Elden Beast wants to run away, that's fine. I have a great distance option. Keeps the pressure up so we can stance break right before Elden Stars. That's timing. Which it pairs with Elden Flurry. Yikes. We're out of flasks and mess up the jump on the triple rings, then get punched, and hey, wasn't even close. Alright, that's 2 more deaths, but this could still do better than Raya Lucaria, if it can handle the super boss as well. It's not about how you start, or how you middle, it's about how you finish.
Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, come inside, Mickey Mouse.
Let's start by putting this mouse in the castle's hole. Lots of mice run around in castles. I would bet I've read Redwall. The Eclipse Hotel is the only Deathblight weapon I can think of. We skip it. Anyway, time for Nile. Send in 5 guys to mess up 3 guys and then just hit them with the yeet. Ah, the yeet. Such a treat. Consecrated Snowfield is foggy, but it makes sense that Mausoleum Knights wouldn't use headlights. We goofed and didn't get far enough to avoid Anastia, so we hit her with the anti-air lance. Penguin Noble does a little better. He just kind of rolls a lot more than Anastia. It is better to focus on dodging instead of just thinking jumping is good because it's jumping. Can we put the win in Moog win today? We have to. It's part of the challenge. But 5 guys is more than Moog can handle. Probably because they don't have a kids menu for him. We throw spears, then he delivers himself to the crit in phase 2. Hilarious. Love it when they do that. Placiduous Axe is weakest to pierce damage, which is what our spear does. Hooray! You can't lock onto his heads to throw the spear because I don't know why. But at least when he makes us run away with the fire, we can still hit him with the lance. The pressure never really stops for him. I don't think I've ever gotten 2 stance breaks against Plasty. That feels wild. Bad positioning for the Omega Laser, but that's what a dump truck of vigor is for. We fell down the Carrion Study Hall again. Whoops. Blood Satan and Dragon God older than time are no match for one slippery chandelier. Thankfully, Fia hugs us after that. Fortis Axe lets us lock onto the head.
Yeah, now that's what I'm talking about.
Obviously, a Mausoleum Knight has extra practice removing a head. Can you hit the archer in the liturgical town with the spear? That's a great question. I forgot to try, but it's still fine. I would imagine you can. It goes pretty far. And I know it goes further with Arrow's Reach Talisman. If I don't mention that, 100 people are going to say it, but fine. It goes far enough without taking up a talisman slot. Why would I waste a talisman slot to make it go a little bit further? Haligtree is uneventful. We could probably hit the bubble blower with the spear, but since we can also just run right under it, who cares? I would actually like to hit the snail, but for some reason the aim isn't working. Damn, okay, well, whatever. Swag jump, and it's Loretta time. She has some ranged options too, but ours are more accurate, or she just moves less than we do. Those 5 guys let us play such a cowardly game. I love it. No pain in LFIL, that's for the next run. It's really bad. Something to look forward to. The real question is, how do we do against Malenia? Well, attempt 1, we bring the guys out and then hit that yeet button. It's okay, but she closes gaps better than most bosses. The guys are tremendous in this fight. I was nervous. There's 5 of them. Malenia has this habit of turning spirit ashes with multiple members into her own personal juice bar, but we keep her aggro with the spear, so she's mostly just getting hit by them. One of them can even knock her over regularly. Don't get me wrong, she can hit them to heal, but it's not as big of an issue as you'd think. They are way more helpful than harmful. Second attempt, we ran out of flasks, so let's try with more blue. It's obviously not the most honest way to fight her, but frankly, she doesn't deserve it. She doesn't fight honest, why do we have to? Like, if I could get a weapon that let me super armor through every attack, healed me 1% of my max health every time I hit, that would be busted. Oh, I described Great Stars with Wild Strikes. But yeah, that's not fair. That's busted. Okay, attempt 4. I love being far enough away that we can just outrun the ducky dance. It's so nice. But sometimes the onion just decides to be accurate and then you can't do anything. Okay. But sometimes your guys get her in a corner and you can keep the pressure up from afar. It's like having a jumping heavy at range. Not as good as the range on the ducky though. Whoops. It's risky, but if you stay at a middle distance, you can even crit the stance breaks instead of just spamming. Obviously, the spear is a great onion punish, basically just free damage. We only have 1 guy left in this fight, but he is not doing much, just trying to keep up as Malenia chases us down. He dies to the second onion, but we don't die to that onion. Bob and weave, get the crit. And then it just takes 1 more R1 for the win. At 7 hours and 16 minutes, we beat 32 bosses and died 21 times, which means that Malenia didn't even kill us the most of the bosses. The goddamn gargoyles did. Basically, the big problem with this one is just getting around the Valiant gargoyles. Just get Lyndell or something. Spectral Lance is fun. The 5 guys are fantastic Spirit Summit, but it simply can't compete because the setup was so nasty. Setting up in B tier right behind Charizard, but it's the worst night so far. Maybe the next one will be worse. It's certainly weirder. Haligtree Knight gear is shocker in the Haligtree. However, we can make the Michelin Knight sword at home pretty easily. Starting with a long sword from the Vagabond starting class, we boogie over to get a horse. It's time to speed run to the Haligtree. This run also has the distinction of being the only one of the knights that is not a secret starting class. Even the Mausoleum Knight can grab their gear before Deeproot, even if the 5 guys add a lot to it after you get to Deeproot. Since we're going to be rocking the Principal Krupke cosplay, we'll start off in the High Road Cave to beat up the Guardian Golem and unlock the Blue Dancer charm. I'm going to allow myself to upgrade the sword and put the talismans on to make it work, but we will restrict ourselves from completing as much of the run as we can until we get set up. We have to beat 2 shard-bearing bosses, the Tree Sentinel, Godfrey Shade, Morgott, Nile, and Loretta. That's it. Sacred Blade will help with that, which will also be the Ash of War on our real weapon, the Michelin Knight sword. Interesting thing from the lore. Sword forged by the servants of Mikola of the Haligtree, with a design modeled after those carried by the Carian Knights. Instead of glintstone, however, amber from the Haligtree is embedded into the blade, a sumptuous piece, yet it has never been offered to any knight. An ill-starred sword with no master. We're the first knight to earn it. We could use the knight's great sword, we could use the partisan, but Mikola said straight sword. Weird that Mikola has 2 swords in the game, and they're both straight swords. Maybe that's the only thing that's straight in the Haligtree. Time to immediately imagine Knight of Mike, Ella in Fort Height. Sloppy movement, but I want that bloody slash. I'm allowing this one to kill the sleepy dragon just because, like, it's already gonna be bad. Let's not make it bad without vigor too. Dragon Barrow time, get ratted, because no vigor yet. Big sad. Easy fix though, slap bloody slash on the sword and start carving up the dragon feet. What a treat. Now we'll hit up the northern tip of Lernia, but I'm gonna ride the horse today instead of full on warp. I'm just grabbing the extra smithing stones. It's an option. I think it's probably faster to just warp through, but it's a 2-minute difference at most. I mean, we still even warp. It's basically just saving some money buying the stones later. Sacred Blade is great in the Raya Lucaria Crystal Tunnel, adding flat damage gets around the big defenses of the Stone Digger miners, and that Blue Dancer charm is paying off huge already against the Crystallion. There's no way this ends up being faster, right? I guess it is the most aerodynamic run. It feels like we're wearing
nothing at all. Nothing at all. Nothing at all.
Well, let's see how Altus goes, specifically the sealed tunnel. We fell down to the bottom already, not a great start, but after some movement, we avoid the Virgin and scurry up the ladder. Now let's see how the Onyx Lord goes. Low defense is bad, but jump attacks from the longsword are enough to stagger, so it goes better than some of the weapons have. Now we have enough runes to crank this thing up to plus 13, and we're almost done with setup. Wait, no, this isn't actually the weapon we're using this run. We are not even close to being done with setup. Up next, we have to get the best physic tier in the game from the Erdtree avatar, the Ruptured physic tier. You might not like it, but it's what peak performance looks like. Sauron Tower next, we don't even get Frenzied. That's raw talent, and raw putting the armor back on to get our status defenses up as well. I do get Naked for Vike though, that's dangerous. We get Frenzied in 2 pokes from the War Spear. Apparently it's quite oppressive in PvP, which doesn't surprise me. PvP sounds oppressive. Why wouldn't you just stick to PvE? Erdtree avatars are more fun to fight than like other Tarnished. Whatever, second Erdtree avatar dead for the holy boosting physic tier. It's just here to make the Ruptured tier better. We fell down jumping into the abandoned cave. Whoops, gravity is a real humdinger, folks. Then the geysers inside decide to stagger, forcing a rot, but I refuse. I'll just throw some runes in the garbage and warp out to reset. Perfect timing against the Spear Cleanrot Knight, gets the stance break, and we get to 1v1 the Halo Scythe one. Phil, did you know you could use the Cleanrot Knight stuff? They work for the Haligtree too. Yeah, I know that. It isn't another Finlay build though. We did that. I am also aware that if you beat Radahn, you can go to Moog, and that's technically the least number of bosses you can fight before you get to the capital, because we also did that run. I'm fighting Margit because if we did do minimum bosses, Margit disappears anyway, so we're not actually taking things out of the run once we have the gear, which is the point. And this will be easier for a lower leveled character. Get us a second pocket and give us Godrick's Great Rune. I do things for reasons.
Trust me. I know what I'm doing.
Topical Sledgehammer reference. Not even your parents are gonna get that one. Anyway, Margit does get our Ruptured tier power. Now, it might seem like it doesn't do very much damage, and it might seem like it does more damage to us, and it might seem like it leaves us vulnerable to an attack as we stand up, and it might seem like it doesn't have a lot of stance pressure. But if you drink the Holy Physic tier with it, it does more damage because it's holy damage, and since it gets better when you pair it with something else, that means it's good, okay? Gostok gets it next. It looks funny. That also means it's good. Roll through the danger path, then dip in for the Iron Whetblade, because until we get the Mickelin Night Sword, it's going to be best to just turn this sword heavy, crank strength. Blue Dancer only amplifies the physical damage anyway, not the holy damage upgrade from the Sacred Blade. The Holy Physic tier will boost that. It's flat damage anyway, so it's totally fine. Godrick gets blown up, then we hit Sacred Blade, and yeah, the damage on this thing's pretty great for early game. Phase 2 is just a matter of 2 charged R2s and a crit from the stance break that the charged R2s gave us. Godrick's Great Rune gives us +5 to every stat. God bless. Or should I say, Godrick bless. Radahn is still going to be our second remembrance. He drops a lot of runes. He's my favorite boss fight in the game. I simply can't delay fighting him. Let's bring the squad in with us and then find the right time to get in and blow up. We almost die, which is weird. We have such great defense. Then in phase 2, we do die. Never mind, this fight is terrible and unfair. On the crackback, we still get the physic explosion off and then start blasting with the sword. Easy boss, good game. I love it. Nerd Juice gets deleted, and so does Patches. The explosion physic is so good for NPC fights. In Limgrave, how could you say it was bad? I decided since we already have no armor, we might as well put the Holy Scorpion Charm on. After all, if you don't have the Holy Scorpion Charm equipped, you're not giving the Ruptured physic tier a fair shake. Draconic Tree Sentinel, we explode on Torrent, and it doesn't hurt Torrent. A stiff breeze hurts Torrent. Okay, then it's a matter of spacing and slicing. We don't fight this guy as often anymore, but it's like riding a bike. I never learned how to do it, but it's easier to do in a video game. Now that we're in the capital, it's time for a section change. Bring that needle drop, Corey. Oh wait, no, we're not done with setup. This feels wrong. Poke the Erdtree avatar, we're in the same section.
My lord, is that legal?
I will make it legal.
On our way to the Ritual Shield Talisman, we blow ourselves up and it seems to backfire? What? I don't know what, that's a skill issue on my part. If you're bad at using the Ruptured physic tier, it's a skill issue. It's optimal. Remember, it beats Patches easily. If you can say it's good for one boss, it's good. Ritual Shield should be helpful. Now, instead of getting one shot with our negative 12% defense, we'll get two shot with 22% defense, followed by negative 12% defense. Oh, but also the Ruptured Physic tier always breaks that, so... Skill issue. I blew myself prematurely against Godfrey. That damn muscle memory to chug the Physic before the fight starts is hard to break. Then we just kinda play hard, avoiding most all of the hits and getting those consistent hits off. 3-minute timer for Morgott. He's got good holy resistance, but holy damage is just gravy. The entree is the blue dancer. Ruptured tier does a whole 500 damage. So many skill issues this time. If I were simply better at the game, the damage would be better. We're gonna lose the pickle, but maybe we can still win the fight. No armor is making us play cautiously. And seriously, this is what I mean when I say if you want offense, you gotta get defense. Since we can't afford to trade, that makes the fight take longer. 4 Biden lands a little late on this, but if you're playing a religious knight for Mikola, it feels like a good time to say that the International Day of Trans Visibility isn't anti-Easter and that Jesus only ever became angry in the Gospels when people were selling indulgences at a church. Otherwise, his message was love your neighbor, handle your own sins, don't judge, and forgive those who wronged you. So when Donald Jonald is selling a super Trump Bible, calling immigrants animals and denying wrongdoing for his coup attempt, while promising to be a vengeful dictator on the first day of his presidency, it's literally antithetical to Christ's message. You know, that's something you care about, just kind of a failure across the board there. Anyway, into the castle's hole. We gotta beat Niall and his goons by ourselves. That's gonna be rough. No armor means we die super fast, and 3 dudes chasing us is too much. We can get the most out of the Rupture if we hit more enemies, but it's still not enough. And then I have a brain blast. Witching Branches is Haligtree shit, right? We can make the knights fight for us. I like my traders like I like my taters. A lot. After the traders die, Niall does the Omega attack so we can get a nice little combo going. Then he just does a lot of stomps. Like, so many stomps. Okay, I'm good at jumping over that. Frostbite I'm less fond of, we run out of magic, but it's no problem. Now there's only one dude, so the initiative is fixed. We're fine. Ruptured Physic tier one-shots the old Haligtree man. If you think this is bad, I'm sorry, you simply need to get good. We're hitting the Consecrated Snowfield so fast, but not as fast as we hit the Silver Scarab Talisman to make our eventual farm a bit more merciful. Though, I don't know, I think it lies when it says it boosts your item discovery by 75. That's simply not true. We have to fight the Stray Mimic tier to get out without losing the runes, but like, that's fine. Unfortunately, it does not have the Ruptured Physic tier, so obviously it didn't stand a chance. The Liturgical Town without pants might not seem like a good idea, but we're more likely to die of Frostbite than we are to the Invisible Assassins. My movement is simply too good. Haligtree goes fine as well. We're here in less than 3 hours, which is pretty funny. Loretta is our final boss, and I throw away our strongest attack, the Ruptured Physic tier. If we lose, this is a skill issue. But since we win, it's a skill good issue? Like, wow, I was able to beat Loretta without even using my strongest attack. Imagine Goku saving Kamehameha because he just wanted to give the villain a chance. It's a 100% a Goku move, actually. Everything we need is an L file. Step 1, get rid of the Putrid Avatar. This one's on a bridge. It's the absolute worst place to fight a Putrid Avatar. Those Poop Slams and Elden Stars Jr. are a nightmare to avoid in a tight space. And now we will need Somber Stones for the Mikola Knight Sword later. So I should probably grab like a Somber 10. I don't really know where to find one though. I screwed up my movement, but no I didn't. I am simply goated and won't get shot on the way to the Grace. Up the ladder, we can grab the headpiece of the knight. Why is it here? I don't know. I don't know why this one's separate from the other armor pieces. It's the only piece of knight gear other than Gelmnir knight gear that you just pick up somewhere. Hey, remember when I said the worst place to fight a Putrid Avatar was on a small bridge? Wrong. It's in a small room. We almost beef it. These AoE hitboxes are so hard to avoid when you're fighting inside a Waffle House. But since it doesn't respawn, now it's time to simply farm these two knights with great shields and ranged options and lots of damage that both aggro at the same time, and they have a lot of health. Yeah, this is actually terrible. Even if we can pull off one knight at a time, they have so much health and holy resistance, we really just struggle to get in and trade, which we're bad at. They also have a healing flask? What the hell? That sucks. Every fight against them individually is harder than most of the bosses we've done so far. Soldier of Mike Ella is truly one of the best soldiers in the game. Once I figure out the moveset, he does get better, but that takes a while. And then I just give up. There's other shit we can do. But my routing was bad, so I died to the Revenant on the ladder. Back to the last grace, we can run through the correct path and pick up the Haligtree Soldier Ashes. Then do our silly little quest to upgrade them all. Weeping Penisula, K-Lit Catacombs, Hell Near Euros Rave, and Giant Topping Euros Grave. You've seen this all before, so I can just skip it and give them all silly names. Then up the ladder for the Mikellen Knight's sword and get the ancient dragon Somberstone I teased you with earlier. You've fallen victim to a classic prank. Don't you look foolish? Oh shoot, we need the runes to level it up. Let's fight this one commoner in Limgrave for that. Hey dumbass, why are you being such a silly goose? Why don't you fight me, you fool? What a dumbass. What the fuck? Okay, I really did that for the larval tier to respec for the Mikellen Knight sword, forgetting we haven't beaten the Moon Mother, so we don't get to do that yet. Now we can fight the knights with our 5 closest friends, and we won't die anymore. Okay, well... Okay, they still hit hard, but they're less of a problem. Here's how they work. As we're farming, our boys have poison pots, holy swords, and about halfway through their health, they blow up. And that's pretty cool. Pants drop at number 10, Caterpie. Also, let's talk about the Mikellen Knight sword and how it's different than other straight swords. Well, since it's somber, it can't be infused with anything, but it always has Sacred Blade. Sure, it drops at 15, that's Beedrill. That means that it always has some holy scaling. Other than that, it has a really nice charged attack that closes a gap. That's really it, and you can't get it to the Haligtree. Like, the Sacred Blade here isn't even better. It's the same one you get in Limgrave, but who knows, maybe I'll really like it. We finally get the gloves at number 34, Nidoking, which is one we get a lot for some reason. It's almost like perfectly in line with the average odds at the 3% drop rate. Though our item discovery is way higher with the Silver Scarab, so that's still pretty bad. It's almost like some sort of rule that things have to drop on number 34 Nidoking. Let me look up Rule 34 Nidoking on my work computer. I'll just pretend it wasn't already in the search history. Hey, look at that! 4 hours in, we finally have the setup done. Let's beat the pre-capital bosses now, I guess. Now for some reason I feel like our build that's got maxed out somber weapons and a bunch of levels from late game bosses is gonna do okay in Raya Lucaria, call it a hunch. Our explosion misses the dog, but we just have to hit a few times to make it go bye-bye. Renala is a 1 cycle, she damn well should be. Then we blow up on her. I think the soldiers got her poisoned, but it's hard to tell when the fight is over this quick. Then I forgot I wanted to respec with her, so we had to fight Moongrum and like, how do you attack an NPC that parries? Like, what are you supposed to do? Whatever. We even out our stats. The Mikellen Knight sword basically just scales evenly with strength, dex, and faith, a little less on faith than the strength and the dex. Next up, Bogger gets blown up and then stops making shrimp and starts making rolls. Eventually, he catches these Mikellen hands and we start making our way to Volcano Manor. Godskin Noble has 40% holy resistance. Honestly, I think most of the bosses we fight have 40 or higher. I don't know why that's the standard, but it feels kind of mean. Ruptured tier, go! If you don't enjoy it, skill issue. It's the strongest tool in the game. Remember how good it was against patches?
Well, what does that have to do with it?
No. He's got a point.
I'm feeling merciful against Rykard, so we won't use the Ruptured Physic tier on him. We'll use the Serpent Hunter instead. In phase 2, I brought the soldiers out just in case they can get a poison off. They don't. I hate this fight. Serpent Hunter whiffs way too goddamn much. How are we swinging a gust of wind that clears the entire stage at a goddamn kaiju and sometimes just poking it into the ground or shooting it over the snake's shoulder? It's fine. It's over. Moving on. Into Radahn's Hole, where we can fight the hardest boss of the run, Soldier of Mike, Ella. I forgot to re-equip the funny tier, but somehow I managed to pull it off. Now, nobody can say that we were hard carried by the Ruptured Physic tier. For the hardest boss, we had to get through it without it. It's time to play the music, it's time to light the lights, it's time to hold down Circle in the Regal Ancestor fight. At least it's weak to Holy. Come to think of it, maybe I should have just shot it with beams, but that's fine, still not a problem. Carry a manor, I don't know if a normal Tarnished woman could do that. That's basically impossible.
Well, first of all, through God, all things are possible, so jot that down.
Remember how we fought harder Loretta 2 hours ago? Well, easier Loretta is easier. How could this be? It doesn't even matter that I goofed up and used our best move, the Ruptured Physic tier, right at the beginning. Let's chat it up with Ronnie and the gang. Obviously, a Knight of Mikola would be an ally to the dolls. Remember, if you don't know what to get your friend for their birthday, give them martial weaponry that can kill God. Incel Rivermain can't radicalize us. We're already pinko lefties, literally living in a treehouse commune. And if it's like all other communes I've heard about, nobody's being chased. Except Estelle, because it's being chased because I keep running. That joke doesn't work this time because I actually don't give it an opportunity to teleport. We killed it too fast. What makes these gargoyles so valiant? Personally, I think they suck, but I guess gargoyles who suck would be a bad boss name. Even with our soldiers to help us distract, the hitboxes of these dumb bastards who suck still overlap a bunch and almost cause problems. They don't, but they almost do. And despite how much I hate NPC boss fights, VS champs go fine. Ruptured Tear saves us from the first guy, then we one-shot the Twink in phase 2. By the time we beat Lionel, the soldiers have basically finished off Poise Boy. No deaths this section, and it only took an hour. Makes sense, a lot of it was already done. Let's go for the big one next. Get ready for some explosions, Elden Beast.
Goal is to blow up and then act like I don't know nobody.
Fire Giant only resists fire damage. All other elemental resistances are a flat 0.
Why are you the way that you are?
20 isn't terrible, I guess. He just has a lot of health. When I said the Urge Steel dagger carves through things like butter, I called it the butter knife as a playful joke. Against the endgame bosses though, our Holy Sword literally hits like a butter knife. Not in a fun way, in a terrible way. But this boss isn't even that bad. Wait till we get to Malekith and Radahn. Then you can really watch it shit the bed. Here it's just kind of a chore. We win with a crit though, that's pretty neat. Fair Missoula time, surely the duo specifically meant to fight gods won't resist holy damage by 40%. Oh, god damn it, give me a break. There's still a decent amount of physical damage from the sword, but I'm starting to wonder if maybe Miquella never gave this to anyone because the Knight's greatsword is just better than it. It's not like a knight never earned Miquella's Knight's sword. It was just kind of bad. Bernie carries, he always does, but then the Black Flame ritual stuns us out of our pickle. Sometimes it feels like the whole damn game is against me. All right, Malekith, 80% holy resistance. We do 191 damage with the Ruptured Tear. Obviously that's because I didn't have the ritual sword talisman on. I'm not giving it a fair shake. Things go fine, just slow, and then we get stuck against a wall. Poor situational awareness. I'm really not all that worried. The soldiers get poisoned because they just really like throwing those poopy pots. It's an effective strategy. You can't judge them. You can judge them a little bit. Damn, is Marvin gay here? Because let's get on. I was hoping he'd turn on that thing that lowers both of our holy resistance, but he just tries to spam spells while we walk forward and hit him with a straight sword. Who would win? Best spellcaster in the game or 1R1 boy? We've got 3 minutes to beat Godfrey to maintain that pickle, and I think you know we're gonna get that. The soldiers cover him in poopy. We get our stabs in there. It's pretty smooth. Radahn is an issue. He does a lot of damage, and the longer you're in the fight, the more his hits turn into hits that explode on a second hit, that explode into a third hit. Eventually, he just starts hitting every ranged attack until we run out of stamina while dodging. With that kind of stamina, Marika is a lucky woman. Goddamn. Attempt 2 goes better just because for like half of a second, he stops attacking occasionally. It's still slow since we're effectively doing half damage about. Then it's time for the Elden Beast, who halves our damage, has one of the biggest HP pools in the game, and runs away a lot.
Don't forget, you're here forever.
It also doesn't help that even against bosses that don't really resist holy damage, we're not the best at doing damage. Sword has cool R2s, but like that's it? At least we can be rude as hell, stance breaking the boss and eating the pickle while it can't move. Some full frontal rudity. Okay, 2 more deaths against the mandatory boss is not bad, but it all comes down to how this one finishes. Now, this should be the shortest section because we've cut out 2 of the 6 bosses we normally do here. As long as the other 4 go fine, we should be fine. But before we can even do Moog, the Penguin Noble bursts us down. Even worse, I was too far north, we get invaded by a Nastia on the way back. Fighting other Tarnished, everyone's favorite. The NPC invaders are here to be like, this is how fun PvP could be, but like, this sucks. I'm not salty because I died. Even when I win, I don't like these. They're just weird interruptions to the rest of the run. Let's get the extra rune arcs just in case one of these remaining bosses go bad. Moog isn't one of those. We blow up and he walks away. Sorry about my skill issue, Ruptured Tear stands. Our boys are doing a great job splitting the aggro between us, and we're able to carve up the Lord of Blood nice and quick. Miquella, you're free. What do you mean you wanted to be here? What? Placidusax, this one, yeah, goes poorly. Dude has so much health and his AoEs delete our buddies. Then he goes into the TP phase where he just decides you no longer get punish windows. For some reason, he's not crashing into the wall anymore. I don't think I changed how I'm avoiding the Omega Laser, but whatever. It took 7 minutes to die. Then we do it again and it takes another 8 minutes to win. Hopped over the Omega Laser that time though. That was pretty cool. Really, when you think about it, we should be able to use pest threads on this build. It's a Haligtree thing. No gravity deaths in the study hall, no hug deaths in the hug room, and I decide bad, we're just gonna try and shoot Fortissax in the head. Sure, he's got 80% holy resistance, because of course he does. The head is extra sensitive on this bad dragon though, so we get about half his health down. It's also slippery and hard to get a grip on, so we spend the rest of the fight on the toes, but no issue. And now there's only one boss left. Lots of time left in the video though. I bet it's because once we beat Malenia first try, Phil does a big long compare and contrast between the runs, right?
Okay, I believe you.
I mean, first we gotta get killed by the spiders trying to grab the Dragon Crest Great Shield talisman, but then we get it. Huge win. This build should be the best for Malenia, other than the other knights having better stance damage, more overall damage, spirit ashes that can stagger, or fewer spirit ashes, some ranged attacks that kept them safe at a distance, but the Haligtree Knight has... wait, is everything worse? Yes, everything is worse. At least Malenia is weakest to holy damage. Think about it. Miquella's needle purifies the Ra within her, so that means holy is her worst resistance.
Ew! What the fuck?
So it's always interesting, in my mind, to go into the Ludo narrative decisions or the way the gameplay tells you something about the story. And the biggest lesson you can take away from the Ludo narrative of this game is... fuck God. Best sword in the game is literally called the Blasphemous Blade. Fire damage is the best damage type for 90% of the game, specifically against the god bosses, and the best source of fire damage in spells is the God Slayer spells, and then there's also the God Slayer Greatsword. Meanwhile, 3 of the story bosses in the game have 80% holy resistance. Most have 40, just kinda, you know, because, and no matter what ending you choose, you do not roll credits until you've slain God. This is all to say, this build is doggy doo against Malenia. It's fine for the rest of the game, but most builds are fine for the rest of the game, so let's start with the positives, I guess. I finished this run after doing the Kenneth Haight run, so upgrading from the stance pressure of a dagger to the stance pressure of a straight sword felt pretty good. Haligtree Knight armor is also better than the bathrobe. The Charge Jar 2 is great for closing gaps on the lady with the big range, and that's it. That's the only good things this build brings to the fight. Now, what's bad? Holy is her best resistance. We throw 20% of our damage in the trash. The soldiers are also just letting her farm them for health. Sometimes we get a nice big combo going thanks to pinning her in the corner, but most of the time she hits 3 or more of them with one swing and gets triple her healing. Probably should have just dumped the boys off at the pool, but after the Mausoleum's 5 guys were so helpful, I guess I assumed we were getting more out of these than we were. So wait, why were the Mausoleum Knights so much better? Well, some of them can knock her over. Knocking Malenia over is the best way to deal with her, and if you can't knock her over, you better hit her really goddamn hard. We're not. The Miquella's Knight sword is frankly not very good. Like I said, the R2 is good, but it's not that good. It doesn't even get extra stance pressure, so I think the damage is a little bit better than a regular straight sword's charged attacks. Might not even be better. I don't know. And the Sacred Blade is no different than another longsword with an Ash of War you could get in Limgrave is pretty pathetic. Miquella couldn't sauce this sucker up since it's in the Haligtree. The Dragon Halberd has spinning slash, but it's a unique spinning slash that adds frost lightning and extra damage. So if the Miquella's Knight sword is gonna use a basic ass Ash of War, maybe the beam should do more damage, or the flat damage should be doubled. Maybe that seems busted for the early game, but you can't get this until you beat fucking Loretta. Also, the lore of Miquella is that he is a master craftsman. He made a needle that stops rot. Oh shit, here's the fix. Make rot an enemy type in the game, like gravity, and have this sword do bonus damage against rot enemies. Even that would make it useful, as it would be the preeminent Malenia defeater. Ludo narratively, it would also tell a story that only Miquella could stave off the rot that afflicted his sister. You already threw poor Millicent under the bus by making the reward for her questline, you can turn off the frenzy ending in Ferrer Missoula. What? That's not, Ferrer Missoula isn't tied to Millicent at all. She never mentions frenzy. She's always talking about Malenia, but you beat her quest and it does nothing for the Malenia fight? Now, does any of that have anything to do with this run?
No, I just have a lot of feelings.
So, fudge it. The Miquella's Knight is gonna get a tool that's just as good as the other knights. Well, slightly worse than the other knights. It's a lot worse than the other knights, actually, but better than the Miquella's Knight sword. We'll kill Grail and use those runes to level up the Knight's Greatsword, and then throw Sacred Blade on it. That's what the Miquella's Knights you fight actually use. Then we respec with the Moon Mother to be a pure strength build, put a heavy infusion on, and say, fudge that holy damage. It can be frosting. But our entree will be a hefty bit of standard damage, covered in frosting, I guess. One of those frosting entrees. Put some buttercream frosting on your next chicken breast. We have an empty pocket since I'm also going to ditch the Scorpion Charm that was just getting us blitzed. We'll use the Turtle Talisman. I like turtles, and if you don't really know what talisman you want to use, grab a turtle. Now, why did I damn this with such faint praise? It's the Knight's Greatsword. It did great in the Radahn run and decent in the Raya Lucaria run. It all comes down to this pesky little fucker I just can't seem to get away from, Sacred Blade. See, Lion's Claw in Radahn flattens Malenia. Stamp on Raya Lucaria flattens Malenia. And Ray could buff with magic, which is half as resisted by Malenia compared to Holy, and that scaled with our intelligence instead of being a flat buff, like Sacred Blade. Flat buffs are very good for the early game because they're meant to scale sort of through the whole game, but really fall off after mid-game. That means that even though we kind of threw away part of this challenge to make the build better, the part being using the Macallan Night Sword, it's still gonna be the worst one. Oh, and by the way, we are swapping because spoilers, in terms of the Knight's stats, this is already the worst one. By like a lot. New pros. Okay, Greatsword has more stance pressure, and an actual good amount of stance pressure, not just better than Kenneth Height's dagger. We don't even have to hit charged attacks. If you keep the R1s coming, you'll get a crit pretty regularly, provided, you know, the crit button works. Y'all know sometimes the game just says, no, and you hit a regular R1 instead. The reach is also better on most attacks, other than the R2, which is the one saving grace of the Macallan Knight's Sword. Didn't save it all that much grace, to be honest. We're just in a bad place. No rune arcs, no ashes to distract her. It's a really honest fight against a boss that isn't very honest. She is simply built different. I've probably spent more hours and deaths against her than every other boss combined, but I feel like this boss, more than any other, has me saying, wait, how the fuck does that one move work? And really, shouldn't it be the opposite? Shouldn't I have a strong grip on the mechanics of this fight after floundering against it so often? But I don't. Sometimes her grab gets super armor. Sometimes you can stagger her out of it. Sometimes you dodge to the right of the flurry and you can get a nice punish. Sometimes you dodge to the right of the flurry and she just turns it to hit you with 95% of it. Most of the time, you just sprint under her onion in phase 2 and she whiffs. But sometimes it just hits you. Sometimes you stand behind her during the flower explosion and you get to punish. And sometimes the explosion's bigger and it hits you. Eventually I decide, we're farming. It's just like trying to get the gear. I'm waiting for the game to decide that it's our turn to win. One of these times, she won't do the janky combo or clone whirlwind out of a grab. Eventually, she'll just let us win. And eventually, she does. After 8 hours and 11 minutes, 35 bosses died, and we died 48 times. It's the only night run in C tier. I'm pretty low in C tier, and I just spent a lot of time explaining why. Every other night has something that made it great. Radahn is rocking Lion's Claw, one of the best ashes of war in the game. It's simply so fun. The Royal Knight can keep its distance with lightning damage, one of the least resisted damage types. Godrick can just grab a sword and start. That extra crit damage is really fun, and since it's a great sword, you get it often enough to make it worth it. Raya Lucaria struggled a bit in New Game, but would probably make the strongest build in New Game Plus. Think about getting to add that Scholar's armament damage to Radahn. That would really carve it up. Mausoleum Knight has the best soldiers in the bunch. They do more damage to knock small shit over and then blink in and out to tank better than the rest. But of course, Haligtree Soldier has the strongest tool of any of these knights. The Ruptured Physic Tier, baby! It's enough to destroy half of Patch's health. If you don't like using the Ruptured Physic Tier, you're not giving it a fair chance. It's good against several early game bosses. There are situations where you can use it. You'd have to be pretty terrible if you didn't think that was good. Obviously, we stopped using it against Malenia because I wanted it to be a fair fight. Well, that's it, everybody. Nice 6 runs back to back. Hope y'all had fun. Let me know if you want to see a Gelmnir night. I think that could be a fun run. Join Patreon to support the channel. It's the best place to do it. You can hop into the Fort Height Discord, maybe play some Commander Magic the Gathering or a bit of Helldivers. Follow us on Twitch to watch these runs live. We're on there all the time. Make sure you like and subscribe. We are mere moments away from 100K, and that would be really nice. I'd like that.